different for everybody. Interview time. Keven Soldo. Or do I say Keven?
You could say it however you want. It's really up to you, but it makes you look a certain way, right?
Does it?
Well, yeah, my name's Kevin. I go by Kevin, so yeah, when you start saying Keven, you just sound like a telemarketer or something.
It's spelled true.
I get that. I get it. I get it when people call, they think it's different, but no, Kevin
Soldo.
like 7, right? You spell 7
True.
same way.
Wow. Never mind then.
K instead of the S.
I stand corrected. Everybody on this channel knows I butcher names, so
That's okay, man.
So I just did it. I just did it with my friend, longtime comedian, longtime comedian, even longer time, I would imagine, free thinker.
That's a good question. I don't know. I think I may have been a comedian longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
I started out as the fool.
Oh, you were just like,
yeah, just a regular old fool, man. Just a simple jester.
You were just doing what worked.
Just doing the juggling.
Wow.
You know, doing the song and dance.
How many years
I had to
ago?
break out of it.
How many years ago?
I don't know. I guess, what is it now? I'm kind of like the beard is pre-thinking days.
Yeah.
Or no, the beard is post-thinking days.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Before the beard, I wasn't a thinker.
Yeah.
The beard is where the thoughts go.
True.
So it's yeah, that it was pretty new to me, man. Cuz I was under the program, I guess, right? Like the regular TV programming. Definitely. Whatever the tube was telling us, that's kind of where my thoughts came from.
Jeez.
Right?
That's wild.
I mean, I was a part of it. I was a sellout. I've done commercial acting, which I have to look back and frown upon. And I've done indie acting, which I'm like, I'm happy about. That was fun. That was an interesting life experience. I like that. I like the way that works. But thinking is new. Thinking is new to me. I think it's, non-existent to a lot of people, but I think it might be new to a lot of people too.
Yeah. A lot of people have been shaken awake over the past few years. For me, I was really lucky when I first woke up, because I woke up around grade 7. I was like 12. Okay. And I failed. I failed the grade. And I was like, oh, when you fail, you get held back.
But what do you mean you woke up at 7? How do you...
Well, because I failed, and they just pushed me through to the next grade. And I was like, oh, this is fake.
Saw it was rigged. Yeah.
This is like they just do whatever they want.
See, I saw behind a lot of curtains, and it woke me up to certain things. Like I worked at the bank, I saw behind that curtain, and that was a weird world to be exposed to, right?
Man.
I've been lucky and fortunate enough to see behind a lot of curtains, but yeah, I was still kind of sound asleep on a lot of stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Like, man, I was again, and I think a lot of that is the programming. Like I would say grew up Catholic, not raised, but grew up Catholic, sort of. Yeah. Catholic school.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
But questioned it, didn't like it. Kind of was sort of programmed to be a staunch atheist.
True. Because
church didn't mean much.
Yeah.
And so that kind of put me on one way of thinking. Hey, the science, facts, no God, impossible, no proof, atheism, only way to do it. I was under that sort of mind warp because, you start getting introduced into a different side of the world, and you start to see things differently, experience different stuff, and it sort of takes you out of that, and you start to realize that that atheism isn't a thing. It's what you want people, right? You need people to be it, because once you get that out of their system, once you get any kind of idea, if you can take away the fear of God, you can introduce the fear of anything. You can allow man to be afraid of man. True. Which shouldn't exist, because if I get that fear of God stuff now, man, because that's really all you have to be afraid of. Yeah. Everything else, if you can get that, then everything else isn't as scary. You know, and then it gets biblical, which the Bible is just something that gets funnier and funnier as the days go by.
That is true. That is true. Because once you have the fear of God, everything else becomes more. It becomes more, not play, but you know you can stand up to a lot of other things.
To certain things, man. Yeah, Daniel in the den of lions, right? Like there's this thing of like, if you really get it and you go, man, the Bible tells you like, you know, man is supreme over animals.
Bring it closer to you. Get it like there.
You want it like, yeah, check 1, 2, hip hop style. No, but once you start getting into that realm of like, you know, there is some level of who's behind the lion. You know what I mean? Who is the lion? Who's the elephant? It's all that it's that one kind of supreme power, right? So why would it really want to hurt you? You know what I mean? It's different because you're not its meal, you're not its meat. Not to say that it can't mess you up, and you know, I watch enough of those blooper videos online to, you know, man, it's a powerful creature. All of them are. An elephant, a hippo, they're all, but there is some connection there to it. We can, yeah, I don't know, man. I think, you know.
Yeah. Well, I was gonna say when it comes to that, and when you brought up the lion, but like, you can stand up to, let's just say, I mean, let's just go there. You can stand up to the government a lot easier, or the laws of man. Like when a man is coming to you with things that aren't in the whole spectrum of, you know, biblical, whatever religion you are, those set of values.
Yes.
That you have.
Yes.
You know, it becomes a lot easier to scare people. And once you're open to there not being any type of thing above you, then you become your God. And then it's like a self-worship that happens.
Yes.
It's very weird.
Yes.
It's very weird.
And that's the powerful thing of language too, which I can't totally get on board. And I kind of went through all those, that cycle of like, yeah, I am God. And then you go, you can't really be saying that cause you're not in any way, shape or form until you figure out a way to control the elements, like, you know, to those kind of levels. We're like, no, man, I can call the lightning. I can call the rain. Then you can maybe start playing with that phrase and terminology. But like until then, man, a tornado will wipe your ass out. One good tidal wave, you're done. The earth opens up in certain places. Sinkholes, earthquakes.
I was going to say an ice age. One ice age.
Man, all that stuff. Forget an ice age. Volcanoes. You know, I was in Costa Rica, man. You go to the volcano towns. It's like there's this weird connection to the earth that's different there than here. Yeah. They're more in tune to what's around them because it's almost like you don't want to get the volcano god angry.
Well, you know what? Yeah.
You know,
definitely see that.
Whatever it is, whatever you want to call it, Mother Earth, you want to call it a supreme being, whatever it is, there's some sort of connection with us and the earth that's not, you know, it's not unheard of. It's not, I'm not the first person saying this. Yeah. And you see that connection kind of working out in real time. There is something far greater than us. Yeah. It's not, us is the ego. You know, hey, man is like, man runs the show. Man can harm the earth. That's like a silly thing to.
Man can harm the earth.
But you know what I mean? What are we all under the
climate change stuff?
Yeah, we're all under the mind warp of that, right? Of going like, oh, we're changing the climate, and it's like, no, maybe we're helping. We might very well be helping instigate the climate. Yeah. You know, like it is making sense that things are hot and spicy when you look at people, and the way we're butting heads is like, yeah, there's a fire going on. You know, there's heating happening, but to say like it's heating where it's going to destroy the planet, and that's absurd.
We're contributing like cow farts. Basically.
Yeah, man, like cow farts are harming.
What we're doing, we're like cow farts. Basically.
And I'm getting tired of this, man. I tried doing it on stage too, like talking about it, asking it, but people, you just see them kind of short circuit, and they're not
about what, like climate change.
Yeah, like the idea of like, look, man, let's play it stupid. What do you remember in school? What did they tell us that plants need to grow?
Sun.
Like sun and what?
And water, yeah.
But what do the plants breathe?
Don't they breathe what we breathe out?
Right,
Carbon?
which is CO2,
Yeah,
which is what you're trying to eliminate from the earth.
Huh.
Right? So you want to remove CO2, which is basically plant air. We get the air that the plants breathe out. They get the air that we breathe out. And we're trying to convince people that one of those is bad. As if one can, you know what do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is like, man, this is the basic dumbass science. I know nothing. I've watched plants grow. I've grown plants, which is something that's also very important that we're getting out of people, that we're getting it kind of programmed out of us. We don't know how to grow our food, right?
Nothing.
But if you do and you look at it, hey, man, I get better tomatoes if I feed this plant CO2.
Yeah.
If I give it CO2. So like when you really start playing with the idea, the pollution that we're making, the CO2 is the best part. If you're going to say it's cow farts or high in CO2, that's great. Yeah. So the trees are getting greener. But they want to tell you, hey, reduce it. And now let's talk language. What do we want to reduce it to? Carbon zero or right? So what are you doing to our brains? What are you trying to get us to comprehend, to do? Like it's so backwards, man. And you try to say that, you try to scratch that itch on stage, and people just short circuit.
You know why I'm laughing? Because I'm picturing it on stage. I'm picturing you trying to hash this out on stage, where the standard objective is for people to like laugh, catch on and laugh. And yeah, I could see people probably get upset with this one.
But it's not even like, man, they don't even know how to play along.
No.
That's what's frustrating.
Well,
it's like, man, answer my questions. I'm dumb. Treat me like the idiot I am, right? You want to shit on everybody that says climate change is not real? Then use me. Let me be that fool to go, yeah, I'm dumb, man. I don't get it. So you tell me.
But you're not allowed. You're not allowed to have that conversation.
Say it out. No, man. And this is now we're getting into the thing that I did want to talk about too.
What?
The way that, man, I thank you first of all for this channel, for like the interview, for doing what you do. I admire it. I appreciate it. I love that you're getting this information out to people.
Yeah, thank you.
And I look at your world with a lot of, like, we were talking about it a second ago off camera, of like, when people are going like, how do I get this channel started, this and that, and you just do it, and you work through it, and you work along with it, and that's great. But the way that I view this, the things that I really want to talk about, the words that I want to say and use, it almost isn't for online. Because I'll get in trouble too quick. Because you know what I mean? I know how quick I can get censored. And I get that nobody's listening and this and that. But I've watched this. Like, man, I had a conversation with a friend today going like, man, I swear these apps are like not letting me do certain things at certain times or on certain posts. And I go,
real.
Yeah, I know that's very real, man. I've watched it.
That's very
like
real.
when certain high media accounts, socially active accounts, post certain stuff, when it's brain brain junk food, when they're going to tell you anything that any of these celebrities are doing, you can post your heart out. You can say anything. You can say the most vicious and vile stuff. You can attack anybody you want, and it's all green lights. Everything's good. Do your best. But anytime they're posting something of, hey man, look at what this politician said. Check out what they're talking about on this particular topic. If you try, all of a sudden you can't post images in the post. And it's not like you're not allowed to. It's not like it says, hey, it's not. It goes, hey, we can't find any images. Hey, there aren't any. So then I'm going like, oh, is it my connection? Is it this? Is it that? And then you go, no. When you start narrowing it down, you go, no, this is one thing. This is in real time censorship. We're working with real live 1984 technology. To go like, hey man, in the moment, on a day-to-day basis, how do we make sure that these conversations and discussions can't happen? Let's eliminate these words from the lexicon of language. Right. And so that's where I admire this stuff. I admire the approach that you're able to take online, and I'm too I'm too potty mouthed. But not with dirty words. You know what I mean? Just in the words that we're not allowed to say. Yeah. I'm too potty mouthed, where the only outlet for me really is live and direct. Mm-hmm. That's the only place where I know I can get my thought out. You can get upset. You can react. You can leave and get out of the fucking room. And I've had that, and I'm fine with that. Yeah. But you can't prevent me from saying it. You can't, because, man, I had a conversation with a rapper, New York rapper, Homeboy Sam, man, this guy's awesome. He's like a real legit dude that talks about real things.
In New York?
In New York.
True.
I had the conversation with him in Canada on our side of the border. But just talking about this kind of stuff, man, the censorship that I don't like online, he started telling me he noticed the same thing with music, where he had cassette tapes of songs that are now on Spotify, where they've eliminated certain words. I think it was a Tribe Called Quest song or something. They say hip hop is not a way of life.
Yeah.
It doesn't teach you how to get money or a wife or something like that, right? Yeah. And then when you listen to it online, they totally remove that part and they just let it say hip hop is life. And then they totally eliminate the second part of it.
Yeah.
So that it's just like, so again, as that beat is being programmed into you, there's a totally different perception obtained from it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And so he goes, so he's seen it. So now you start realizing, man, there's importance in real record keeping, things that can't be altered, record, cassette, things that are harder to edit, having real physical copies of books. You can't touch this.
Well, I was going to say, you were actually the person who told me to get a dictionary. I mentioned it on the channel. I said that to people, like, get a dictionary, because they're gonna take certain words away, take certain meanings away. Because eventually, and I was just talking about this recently on an episode. Joe Rogan was talking with this guy, big on freedom of speech, great guy. They have a podcast called Trigonometry. The guy's name's Konstantin Kisin, and they were just talking about how, you know, now there's a generation of people that think words are violence.
Yes.
And eventually you're going to see that in the dictionary. Yeah. Eventually you're going to see it's going to be, you know, physical action or hateful words.
Yes.
And it's going to be there eventually. And it's very interesting. Like, I really do want to get an old dictionary. Like, I just want to go to a school, like a shit school, and just get like a 19.
Yeah, whatever you can find.
Yeah.
Man, so I found... yeah, it's funny when you look at that stuff. In the 80s, they were talking about a certain C word that we've been using for the last few years that was mentioned in a very old textbook in regards to health. I think that's a word we're allowed to say.
Okay,
So, and it mentioned that, and man, it just said, hey, man, this is a regular seasonal thing that people tend to get.
Yes,
when
a general.
Yeah.
It was a general thing.
Yeah, man, just a regular everyday thing that somehow has been completely transformed.
Yeah.
But
it's wild.
What I ran into, I was in a bookstore. And again, this was something that, you know, I brought with me. It's the New Testament and Psalms by the Canadian Bible Society. I found that.
Bro, like, videos get limited.
I know.
I was one video of Oliver Anthony just reading the Bible. And YouTube limited it.
I shouldn't have said that. This book
he didn't,
is whatever. It's not that important. He didn't even
say anything wild. And I think I talked about, like, my time getting saved, like how I came to, you know, realize that I, you know, instead of, you know, meditating to the universe, I started praying to the architect.
Yes,
things,
yes.
You know?
I've been getting more into that too.
Yeah, and yeah, it got limited. But then when you request a human review, the human's like, this is fine. But something
that's interesting, because a lot of times I can't get a human, man. I would love a human.
Well, I mean,
I try my hardest.
In YouTube, it's like they naturally have to.
I see it with Instagram. I escalate all things.
See, Instagram's different. Meta's different. Meta's very. It's
very artificial,
stricter.
Yeah.
Than the video streaming platforms.
But they allow total smut. Someone brought it up to me that it's nothing but softcore smut.
Yeah.
And that really dawned on me and really hit me hard, man. It really is. Yeah. It's just
It's
you
wild.
know, it's just jugs and buns everywhere, and that's totally fine.
I love the wording, Joe.
Man, I'm really no man. I see the way it works, man. I see the way it takes things out, and you want to chop things down because so I want to really talk stupid. I don't want to. No, but you know what I mean. I don't want to talk smart, man. Because when you talk smart and use the right words and all, that just gets.
Oh yeah, and
I've
tried to say that on the channel, you know, because I try to have like almost like a dialogue with the people in the comments a little bit, and a lot of people don't get it. They're like, "Oh, why didn't you say this?" or "Why are you dancing around that?" And it's like,
yeah, it's like you have to dance. Yeah, if you don't dance.
In order to get your message across.
Yeah.
And that's the thing.
It's really
where it's upsetting, but at the same time, I don't want to say I'm cool with it, but it's taught me a lot. Like
absolutely.
Will teach you a lot, right?
Absolutely. I do give it full credit for that. Because I see this big kind of circular thing of, again, this book that I was not able to find for a really long time. I found it in an old bookstore. Funny story. I came across this over 100-year-old version of this text. Really big version of it. Really like looked beautiful, man. Beautiful, like leather bound. And
how much was it?
And it was only $100, and I should have got it. And
you didn't get it?
No, because I was like at the time it was massive, and I'm like, where am I gonna put this? I got to still drive, 24 hours. Yeah, it was big. It was full size.
Wow.
Man, it was one of the ones, right? And then oh man, this is such a weird story. So I see that book, and I kind of passed on it, and I shouldn't have, but I did. And one of the things the guy told me, I go, man, this is so neat. And I'm like, what year is it from? He's like, it's 100+ years old. And he goes, I go, wow, that's neat to me to just see something 100 years old. And he goes, we have some that are like over 200 years old, but then those are like, they go in the thousands, like of cost, but they're like, and then the guy says to me, he goes, yeah, this is the only tech that's able to withstand time is books.
100%.
It's the only technology that lasts, because everything else changes format, changes, you know what I mean? You need something. You need a battery, electricity, this and that. Text, you don't need anything. You just need a paper, papyrus, whatever, basic thing you can write on.
And you have to know how to read.
And yes, you need to know the coding of reading.
You need to know how to read, and you have to understand how to read cursive writing.
Yes.
Which they're taking out of the schools. They're actually making
so now,
a generation
I
that can't read.
love the way this shit works, man. Beep that. Pardon my language. The way that so here the first time, pass up on the book. Go looking. I was in the area, these old houses in the area. I go to look at one of them. We went inside.
Yeah.
The people were moving. I see the same version of that book in this house.
Wow.
And I'm like, that's so weird to see this book twice. It's a really old book. Like, what are the chances you come across it twice?
Yeah.
And I can't take it. I didn't want to do that. That would be steal it from this person's house. Maybe they didn't need it. Maybe they didn't want it. But I couldn't have done it that way. That just felt too wrong.
Yeah.
Then nothing. And then months go by. And then Dino was in town. Dino Archie, another great comedian. You were there for the show.
Yeah, it was great.
We went to check out this place in Dresden, Ontario, like a few hours away. Uncle Tom's Cabin, the book that Harriet, what's her face wrote, old book.
Harriet Tubman?
Not Harriet Tubman. Harriet, some white lady named Harriet, who might have been a pseudonym or something.
Yeah.
She wrote this book. And Uncle Tom, as we know, was based on this guy that escaped to Dresden, Ontario. He escaped slavery and kind of, tried to build a life for himself.
Yeah.
And ended up going back and rescuing slaves and freeing them and helping them to their freedom. And there was a whole, he was a preacher. He would kind of in his later years became a preacher, whatever. And they ended up explaining how important that was, man. The concept of reading and not allowing people to read. You kind of enslave them on that idea alone. If you can't pass information like that. Yeah. And then wouldn't you know it, man, they had a Bible there. like the importance of how it was to read. The guy was able to read the Bible, became a preacher, and on display,
The same one?
same Bible.
Really?
Yeah. The same exact
Wow.
one. And then after that, it really kind of like shook me a bit. And I go, man, the chance, like just
seeing
of
it 3
odds of
times.
seeing it
Yeah,
3
yeah.
times, I go, there's too much. I'm gonna start trying to get into this book again
Yeah,
for
yeah.
the first time. Really, I've read it. You read it as a kid, you read it in school, whatever. Your brain's not there.
Yeah.
Your brain can't comprehend the things that are going on. So
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
Seeing it now, and once again, man, it's really neat, the power of the words that are used,
Yeah.
the things that are said in these books, what's going on currently in life, you know, what kind of conflict is happening. Insert any one name of any one country here
yeah.
versus this any other country. Like,
Yeah.
it's just something that keeps happening time and time again, and there's a very similar pattern to it all. And so when you look through these books, these old books that have withstood time,
Yeah.
it becomes really fascinating to go, like, we really need to
That's crazy.
we need to, I know there's something here, man. There's something, and you know, there's a reason why these things are being attacked. There's a reason why, there's got to be a reason why we're allowed to poke fun and make fun of and satire all these movies about this one certain faiths. You know,
Yeah.
now it's cliche almost to make fun of the Catholic Church.
Oh yeah, of
right.
course. Yeah, yeah.
But that's allowed, and then there's certain other ones. There's certain other faiths that you're not allowed to say a single thing about.
Yeah.
You can't make any mockery of it.
Yeah.
So it becomes funny. Like, why is one allowed and the other isn't?
Yeah.
You know, and it really starts to open these doors of like, what are all these things that are really being represented then? Why are certain things so vilified?
Yeah.
You know, and then again, the power of words and the power of freedom of speech and censorship is cool because, hey, here's a little bit of a constriction on the words you can use, but then there's some beauty to it all of like the way Carlin did it with his 7 dirty words.
Yeah.
You know, before that moment, you weren't allowed to say that.
That's
You
coming
weren't
back.
allowed to say that. Very much so.
It's coming back.
Because even now, the words that we cannot say and the words that we are allowed to say, we're allowed to say whatever it is, birthing unit or whatever. You know, like you could say that, but you can't say certain things. You can't say regular male or female or something. You have to say weird things.
Yeah.
Cis, male.
There's
There's a weird...
there's a connotation that comes with even someone saying regular male.
yes.
There's a connotation that comes with saying cis.
Yes.
It shows like if you say cis, you are educated.
Yeah.
And you are an ally and you're a good person.
And now-
If you
and now-
say regular.
And now me dumb,
Yeah.
me simple, me caveman. Now you look at what are you saying? Because now words are vibrations. Vibrations manifest. They come out of us.
Yeah.
You've experienced it. You see the power to it.
Yeah,
So
of
now how funny is it? We're saying cisgender, cis male, cis female, but it sounds real close to cyst, right? Like a cancerous growth. So
I was gonna
do you know
say
what I mean?
cis like feminine.
Sure, cysts, but what about like, yeah, man, these tumors that grow, these cysts. So now every time I'm referring to humans, I have to refer them in this connotation where it's similar to the words of me saying like some kind of weird tumor growth, sickness.
Yeah.
It's really,
It's weird.
yeah,
There's
man.
a lot of weirdness going on.
And even with the you know, that one artist that got into a lot of hot waters for speaking on certain things that he wasn't allowed to speak on, and got a bunch of stuff taken away from him.
There's so
I don't know.
many of those guys
It
now.
tends to happen, yeah.
There's
But
literally so many of those. When you say that, 4 people.
you
come
have to think,
mind.
yeah.
Like, I
But
thought
one of the guys
Rogan,
in particular,
Jordan Peterson.
one guy in particular brought up the dictionary that you mentioned too, and the importance of understanding positive charged words and negative charged words.
Yeah.
Do you know? And then this one particular artist spent a whole bunch of time trying to make sure that the only thing he said was words that have positive connotation to them. Because we don't understand how many words we say that have negative connotation. Like the idea of good morning, and you go morning and morning. You know, one is the sun rises, but there's also the idea of death and mourning.
Yeah. I actually have, I kind of think like that. I do. I used to say I'm down with that. I always say I'm up for that now.
See, and what a lovely flip. Your days change.
Or like Christian friends.
Are you down to ride?
Yeah, I'll be like, I'll say something like, I remember it was heaven, yes, because I had a coach and he was like, yeah, you know, like certain things have to be a hell yes, and I was like, well, you know,
heck yes, I go heck.
Go with a heaven yes.
Yeah, I try. You know what, man? The more and more, the way I want to see and view life, I don't want to call that energy in. I don't want to, you know, I really. I even saw a thing recently, some dude talking about, like, man, even the F-bomb, dropping the F-bomb. Yeah. Whichever one, but you know the main one.
Yeah. Not the fun one, the regular one.
Yeah, the regular one, just the regular F-bomb. When you do that, the word's root stems from some kind of, like, calling on a demon. So you bring on... demon energy, demon time. And I get it, man. You kind of even see, like, look, when you're on stage and you're talking clean, you drop one F-bomb and people really, like, man, it loosens them up real quick, right? Because it's this really big, it's a funny tension breaker, right? It's this weird thing of, like, you're not supposed to say that. And when the mind is just perceiving clean and then you go a little dirty, it really sort of shocks the brain a bit, right? And so I understand its importance and power in that kind of way, but also, man, and when you do think about it, those kind of laughs that you get and everything about it, it's like you're calling on a much more mischievous thing.
It's funny,
you know. You're really
what made you start thinking like that? Because you said at one point you were a comedian who was just kind of like going with the flow, and when I think of that, I think of who I see today. Because, you know, we know a lot of comedians. I know a lot of guys in New York. I even know some guys in Texas now. And everybody, no matter where you are, everybody has the thing of, I want to do as many sets. I'm going to touch on acting a bit. I'm going to touch on commercials if I can get it. I am going to, what's the other thing everybody does? Acting. Oh, they go for the just for laughs credits, like all those credits.
Yeah.
When did you break away from all of that? Why?
Man, I think you were a big contributor to it.
Me?
Yeah, you were pretty influential in the sense of, like, man, just opening me up to different ideas and allowing me to see the way that the industry tends to move. And it really started to strike a chord with my own morals. And I realized I don't want to be a part of a lot of it anymore. I don't like it's really it's very bad for business. Like it won't get you the thing. It won't get you these unlimited infinity sets until you die. But I also realize that that's not necessarily what I want. I don't want that chained up contract where it's like, great, I'm doing the 900 city tour in 14 days. I don't want to. I don't want to do that, man. The less you find me, the better. I want to figure out how to grow food again. I want to figure, you know, that's what I want to put more focus on. But then this thing in me, the problem is I have something in me that's good at what it does, and it's good at talking to people, and it's good at conveying old ideas in a different way. It's and I see its potential and its need for it too, man, because we're at a point where, you know, we can't say a lot of stuff. We're getting to these, like, thought crime.
We really are.
Yeah.
It's getting crazy.
We're
getting crazy.
We're getting to a thought crime way of thinking, and And it's kind of aggravating that this industry is kind of a main contributor to it. Do you know what I mean? Submit your jokes so we can see, so we can review it.
Whoa, what? That's what you do?
That's always been they pretty much won't let you at any festival unless you show them something, I guess. You could fake it. Hey, you could easily like
say one thing and then
and then just go do your thing, but you know that you may very well, because you're signing your name on the dotted line, you very well may lose your funding for it, your pay. You may just get, the world won't get access to you because the clip gets cut. There's too much control where you go, I really don't like it, man. And when I think about it too, I look at stand-up almost as like nighttime church now, where it's church for the night people. It's church for the people that aren't so perfect.
The lost ones.
Yeah, a little bit, man, because we all need a little bit of church, and I kind of like to think that that's sort of the area where you can do it. You can provide these people with some kind of release, with some kind of unifying people to come together on things that they wouldn't normally come together on.
Yeah.
So it does this thing where, it's like a nighttime church. And so I find these similarities between it where even if I were to be a preacher, if they let me talk the way I talk in the daytime, I would do it. But even in that world, I still wouldn't find it in me to be the mega preacher. I don't have it in me like to be decked out in the planes and the private jets and I'm here and you guys are all over there and the mega 20,000, 80. I don't want to. Yeah. I don't have that interest. I have this interest in this real energy, this connection of like my voice is connected in real time to these speakers, and I don't have to wait for an echo. I don't have to wait for my voice to come back before I could say the next thing. I could just speak.
Yeah.
And we can all feel it, and we can
see, you've actually done that stuff. I've never done that stuff. I've always I think the most people I've ever played to is like 90 people, maybe. I think Ernie put me on a show. It was like 90 people maybe.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I like that.
90 is a great number.
I think
90 is 20 is a great number.
And for me, I love that.
Man,
I love the small where you can say something and see each person's reaction.
Yeah.
Is amazing.
And then have a different conversation about it afterwards too, right?
And you can actually talk to them afterwards.
Yeah.
If there's enough people where you can actually have a 10-minute conversation afterwards with each person, I think you've hit a great spot. But we've talked about this before. When it comes to comedy, the people who are in front of 10,000, 20,000 people, all that ridiculousness, it's an agreed upon thing that I'm not really going to get the greatest experience right now, but I love you so much that I'm going to give you the $400 because I want to see you do well, and I don't want you to stop doing this. That's basically because if you're in a place, I've said this before, I've said this so many times, and so many people will hate that I say this, and I'll say it for years to come. But if you're watching someone on a screen and you're in a place and they're like a dot, you're getting ripped off.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
There is no way around it. You are. Yeah. You're just watching a dot, and you have to look at the screen to see them. Yeah. You could just do that at home with Netflix.
Yes.
And pay $15 or whatever the hell Netflix costs. And you can do it over again. You can watch it over and over again.
I know, man. And that's weird.
I don't know. It's weird.
Because that's what we're trying to strive towards. That's what they want you to think is like, this is the pinnacle of what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
And to me, it's so, it really takes it out of the element that I seek. And I'm so thankful and grateful that I've been able to experience those things.
Yeah, you did
without 5,000? Having. Yeah, I've done a few thousand a few times.
Yeah,
and Jeez. Just to experience that, man. Again, unbelievably thankful for it, and I didn't have to go down the path that those people had to go through.
Yeah,
in order for me to gain the perspective that I gained from it, because that really wasn't from me for me. So I would 100%. Hate to have done, 20, 30 years of something and then get to that point to only go, I really
Yeah.
I like it a little more intimate. I like having I like
Right.
feeling the connection that's there.
That's why I love that Chappelle's into that. He actually said that. He's like 200, 150
That's
to
a
200.
yeah, man. That's a great
And
club.
he was saying that's like a good number to shoot
Yeah.
for. And I was like, wow.
Yeah,
Like, somebody
man.
that's at that level to think that. And then, yeah.
Because it's a weird thing, man. Like there's so many elements to it. There's an acoustic element to it. There's a you know, like, again, I don't want to hear the sound of my voice echoing back. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm some sort of god with this booming voice that echoes. I don't want that. That's so.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I'm seeing it too. Like it's this weird thing of no, man, that's not the image I'm trying to convey or the message I'm trying to put out either.
Yeah.
Because it is this idolatry, right? Like it's you're trying to become an idol, which I don't want. I don't want to be idolized. I just want to be listened to. I got a thing or two to say, and if you want to hear me out, great. I don't want to be.
Yeah.
I don't want that, man.
It's
No
true.
way.
It's true. I guess I'm kind of like that because I like conversations. This is like my thing. Like,
Yeah, and this is a great format too. You're you know, in the comfort of your space, and it's a very it's great. It's home court advantage. It's you know, it's all these things where there's a warmth to it that's.
And don't get me wrong, I'm working on my stand up. Like I got a good 5 minutes right now, and I got to tighten it up by actually going out and doing it. But
can I just say I appreciate that level of honesty too.
what?
Just the sincerity of going like, hey man, you know, I got 5 minutes and I want to cut it down. That's a very it's a very noble thing to say, because everybody talks the opposite. Everybody's like, man, I got an hour. I got
an hour.
And then you
That's
go,
nice.
you can't put me on enough. It's really a funny thing, man. And then a lot of times you come up and it's just hot air. It's not anything that's really
no.
trying to.
I don't know. I very much have a deep respect for stand up. I've been watching it since I was fucking 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
7 years old with my mom. And I actually have watched Patrice before, because he's actually been on Just for Laughs.
Yeah, many
and
times.
BT Comic View.
Yeah.
He's been on both, and my mom reminded me of that. She's like, "You've watched him before."
That's great.
When I was a kid.
That's
That's weird,
dude. And you know what? See, what I really admire about Patrice and I love about Patrice is he was never a big industry guy. And he was always spoken negatively on for his poor attitude towards people, but really it was always just towards the industry. He just didn't give a shit for it. He didn't care to do any of it. He didn't want to play the game, which I like, man, because
I've experienced it, because you know, I've worked in film and television.
Yeah,
I've worked everywhere. I never really say my location, because like I told you, a lot of people are trying to figure out where I am.
I don't like that. Don't give it to him.
It doesn't, like, I'm sure there's a bunch of people, you know, I mean, like, I'm sure there's a bunch of people who are genuine, but some people, it could just be someone that hates the politic stuff that I talk about, and they just want to know where I am. So I don't even let people know country, like nothing. Not until I'm like artilleried up. Will I let somebody know? Because, you know, family, just like, I don't know.
Yeah, man. And again, see, I think that's something that's so people don't pay attention to that as much as they should.
Well,
like the idea of, and again, and I speak on this from a place of I've given up too much. Yeah. I've put too much stuff online that I very much regret, because it's just silly personal information. Mm-hmm. There is no reason that the internet should know anything about me on a personal level, but I've given it everything.
That's why
I've given it all family information, you know, like.
That's why I've never even seen my wife. Like, a lot of people will complain and be like, I can't see your wife. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
No, man, go digitally Islamic. hide that woman.
Digital burqa.
as best as you can. If you have to show her eyes and nothing else.
Yeah, we don't even do that. Like, it's just,
man, these people, there's a lot of good people out there, But man, there are so many monsters.
Yeah.
There's monsters, man, and people watch things for the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Like there's definitely the majority of people I'm sure support you, want to see you do well.
Yeah.
But then there's just monsters, man, that are waiting for you to trip up, waiting for ways to and
yeah.
Your awareness of that is you're already doing it. You already understand it to that level. But man, it's like those are the regrets that I would definitely have of just like too much. Yeah. And it's the thing. Hey, look, today's National Whatever Day. Post this, subvert deep information about yourself. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Especially the kids.
Whatever it is, man. National Siblings Day.
Yeah.
National Take Your Son to Work Day. National whatever it is. So let's see it. Yeah. Let's see the goods. What do you got?
Yeah.
For what? For likes?
Yeah. It's true.
But you know what I mean? What have we done? What have we done, man? We don't get paid off it. Mm-hmm. And you're putting that stuff out there?
Yeah.
No way, man. No, this is
that's why I don't I'm very careful about that, but like I was saying, I've just worked in the industry, and when you're talking about Patrice having that negative attitude, you could just not want to do something. You could be standing by your own integrity.
Yes.
And fall under the category of difficult.
Yes.
Fall under the category of a bad attitude. Because what a good attitude is, and I've worked on so many sets all over, from Netflix, big movies, sitcom, show, everything. The idea of a good attitude is somebody who will do anything and shut up. Mm-hmm. That's what they think of as a good attitude. Yeah. That's why you see these sickos.
You're a great company man.
Yeah. That's why you see these sickos get away with what they get away with. Yeah. Because the people are trying to have a good attitude.
Yep.
It's weird.
Yeah. What's
stuff,
that thing? Man. If you there's a thing to it. I think we even pass it around to each other of like if you are if you're like negative and stuff like that, it's really just because you're hard to control.
Yes.
Because you won't play along. Yes. That's really all it is. It's like this different way of saying like, man, we can't control you.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, you have a bad attitude. You have this, and you go, man, you just.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
I'm trying to hold on to some things.
Some guy meets a chick and he can't get her to put out. It's like, well, this girl's stuck up.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
That's and when it comes to Hollywood, it's literally that with not just guy, girl, whoever. They're trying to get you to put out. Yeah. They want you to put out. They want you to play the game.
Put out is that's a perfect way to put it, because that really is.
Because it's literal.
Yeah, and on so many levels, man, they really want you to put out.
And give everything.
Yeah.
Give everything. Get divorced.
Yeah.
So many guys on set. That's why I opened my eyes to a lot of it. You know, every guy was like, you got to get comfortable probably going through a divorce. You're not going to see your kids, this, that. That's back when I was like doing locations. I'd be on set for like 18 hours a day. Yeah. And they'd be like, yeah, that's just what happens. And I was like, I don't want that. Like,
no, man.
I figured it out quick that I didn't want that.
There's really. A lot of, I spoke to someone who was speaking the other day about their faith, where they're supposed to pray multiple times a day.
Yeah, definitely.
When they go to their native land, it's a breeze. Yeah. They do it all the time. Yeah. Everybody does it culturally. Yeah. So it's an easy thing. It's great. It's beautiful. It's very peaceful, meditative. And when he's here, he's lucky if he gets to do it once a week. Yeah. Not like even once a day, once a week. Because he's here when he's supposed to pray in the morning, meditate in the morning. He can't. He's got to get ready for work.
Yeah.
The system's designed to get you to break away from that thing.
Family, nation, God.
Yeah.
Which is why I don't know if you ever heard of Vivek Ramaswamy. He's somebody who's running for president. He's around our age, brown guy, and he talks a lot about that. Family, nation, and God. And that's I didn't realize how big it was until I started building my own family.
Yes.
Like family, nation, and God. Being patriotic and knowing that you have a duty to your community and your country. Family, knowing that you have to have a family unit. That's where your integrity is. That's where your values are. That's where you sharpen them. Yeah. That's where you build them. And then when you have those two things, above all that is God. Yeah. And when you have that, when a populace has that, no matter what country it is, when a populace has that, they become, I don't want to say uncontrollable, but they already have a control center. They already have a system of how things work. I am loyal to my family. I'm loyal to my country. I'm loyal to God. And if anything is outside of that, insider trading from these senators, all this wild shit that they do, anything that's outside of that, if you can really have people stay within that, they wouldn't put up with any of this shit.
You would take, you would stand up to it and put a stop 100%. To it. I even saw they did the thing just now with, they said Congress is, they're buying up all these military stocks.
Are they?
In preparation for things that are happening.
Get your stocks, people.
Man, they're going to make a fortune. And even if that's a guaranteed return on your investment, it feels like you can't get any dirtier. You can't make money any dirtier. You know what I mean? That's like direct funded 100% fresh squeezed blood money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Hey, because what is it? What are we doing with investments? I'm putting money towards this company. So you can do what you do and you're going to give me some cut back. So the more you make in whatever it is that you do or sell,
whatever,
I'm going to get a piece back. And it's a guaranteed return when you know that, you know, and you go, man, why are we doing this? Why are we allowing for this? Eventually,
why is it allowed?
Well, again, because it comes down to the people. I think they've got us twisted on a lot of stuff, and again, they got a lot of things removed from us.
It's interesting. It's interesting. It all goes together.
But that's the kind of stuff that also makes me like, man, I'm very aware of it, and it makes me approach the next stages in life very cautiously. Where do I want to have children? Where do I want to start, you know, life? Because you know that video I sent you with that police lady covering the door camera.
I love that.
Man, I love that. You know, play the clip right now. That's the stuff I love, because I love seeing cops get punked like that. Just because, like, man, you have no right over people like that, and there's some beauty in being able to say with conviction and with power, get the F off my property. Like, there's just something so beautiful to it, you know?
That is, I even said it when you showed me the clip. I'm like, that's what America's about.
Oh, man. And
being able to know that, like, and if you don't know the clip, like this police officer, this police woman, she's covering somebody's Ring camera so they can't see who's at the door and they're knocking at the door. And this woman just goes off because she can see someone's covering her camera, and she just goes off. She's like, get your hand off the camera. You don't have a right to be here. Get off my property. And she just keeps on doing it. And that's the thing.
And she uses fantastic language. Like but we talked about it. She's using demon language or whatever, but she's using it in the right context.
Yeah. But
the
thing is, she leans into it and she doesn't stop. And I think that's where a lot of people
dial it back.
Dial it back, and also get a little scared, you know, and they're not sure what to do. But when you really know what your rights are, and again, that's why it's so important. I always say citizen, you know, because a citizen is a native. When you're a citizen of somewhere, you're a native. If you're a native, you have inalienable rights that they can't take from you. And if you understand what those rights are, you can lean into it like she did. She understood completely. They don't have the right to cover my camera. You don't have the right to hide that you're here. I haven't done anything. I'm not under arrest. What are you doing?
Fluff you.
Yeah.
She says.
But she understood. Like, you work for me.
Yeah.
Like, and again,
words, man.
I have all of
what are they?
All the respect for police. Like,
I have very little because no, and I say that because of corruption.
Yeah.
The amount of corruption, and again, man, they should be the first group standing up to the garbage. Right? You should be the first line of defense to go, enough's enough. We got corruption in our thing. Let's settle this. Let's be the civil servants that we're supposed to be. But instead, they're all goons. They're henchmen.
Yeah, man.
Man, and I see that when you see the way they look here, I've talked about this at length, man, the way they look here, militarized, bulletproof vests, cargo pants, but it's not. You go to certain places in Europe and the police are in polo shirts.
Really?
They're in man, they drive cars that nobody would drive. It could barely keep up with traffic.
Wow.
And here they got the biggest. We're the most green fighting nation. They got the biggest gas guzzlers, tanks on the road practically.
I was gonna say they got all sorts of militarized type of stuff, but I don't know, like
everything, bush guards.
I have respect for the position that they're holding. But yeah, the corruption is a little
I don't. I have no respect for it. Man, I don't. I'm sorry. I think it needs to be said.
Well, yeah, no.
And I'm glad that you do. You have some
I'm back and forth. Like when I was a kid, I got assaulted by a police officer pretty bad when I was like 12 or 13.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's also been encounters I've had where they've been amazing. I have a family member that's won. I have family that has served military wise. Like I have all this different, and then me myself when I was doing not the most legal things as when I was a kid, so I've seen all sides of it.
Sure.
And I get it. I understand where they're coming from when they do certain things, but they should, like you said, they at some point, and this is with police, this is with the media as well, at some point they were supposed to, like you said, civil servant.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be pointed this way.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, they pointed this way.
They became henchmen.
Yeah.
They became the sheriff's goons. Like it's Robin Hood, man.
Way.
Yeah.
Media is the same way. They became the speaker. They became the megaphone for the establishment.
For the king.
Reality, they were to be the megaphone for us.
Yeah.
Like this is what the people
voice of the
know.
people. Yeah.
And could you answer, please? And now it's the other way. And it's like, this is what the establishment has to say, and this is what you're going to follow and do. And I don't know when that happened. I really don't.
When we allowed female cops. That's where it started.
Well, you know what? It's funny that you say that. Like, it does make me laugh. But when you look at, I just did a video recently, Navy recruiter.
Yeah.
Dude's a drag queen. Yeah, it's very weird. And he's like very avid about it. Like, it's just, it's part of the, the military is getting a little woke,
A little.
Even back then, when you're saying that when women police first were allowed in, that was the beginning. That was their woke. That was their, in their generation. That was like, whoa, what's going on?
I've heard this idea where it's like women kind of steer society in a way where, like, because even when you look at it, we talked about it earlier too. Dudes are always chasing women, one way or the other, man. We're dogs running around,
you're
right?
Chasing them, you're providing,
or they're chasing for you.
Yeah, but provide for them. You want to protect them.
That natural default in us is like, man, we're the animal in us is always like, women is what it's in us.
Yeah.
That so when they have an immense power to them. They have the power to bring life in, and they also have this power to kind of steer society. What we say goes. When they accept things, like that's why this whole movement is very funny now too, because you have all these males dominating in all these female areas. Yeah. But it's like, but you guys allowed for it. You guys allowed this stuff by first going like, oh, be nice to everybody. Yeah. Do this, do that. Oh, everything's fine. We just have to go along and be friendly and do all. And then you go, well, fine, but then you let the wolves in the hen house.
Yeah.
And they're having a buffet with what is happening.
Yeah.
But then again, now my squabble with female officers is you go, man, they're supposed to be the nurturers in society. They're supposed to be the energy, and they have different energy pumping in them, right? Which 100%. Is again this whole thing that we're pumping all this different stuff in people like it's normal. It's like, no, man, these are some natural energies within us, and one is a comforting, nurturing energy, and another is aggressive, protective, testosterone-y energy, where it's like that's what's in us. And so when you put women in policing and then you train them to be soldiers, you train them to have a mind of a guy, judge away a guy judges, you can't do that. And you see these women cops act, because the role of the badge is the same. It gives that same power to everybody that holds it. It's the ring of power.
True.
Right, so everybody that gets a hold of it takes advantage of its power. It makes them do that thing that Lord of the Rings precious thing, right?
Yeah.
And to give that to the females, you allowed them to, you invited them to become that aggressor, which they should not be.
Yeah.
You know, it's supposed to be on us. So
Yeah.
you toughen the women up, but you soften the men up in the process.
True.
Because for every tough woman is some, you know,
Very feminine man.
yeah, feminized
Painting
male.
his nails and all that stuff.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
It's very true. Even right down to, because, you know, my wife's been studying a lot about kids and like how to raise kids and everything. And she was reading this book about, it was talking about how men are supposed to poke when it comes to a child. Men are supposed to poke and women are supposed to stroke, which means that men are supposed to poke you until you're stressed as a kid, until you're stressed, and then you like say you just cry. You know, they're pushing you, they're roughing you up, and then you go to your mother. Your mother
comforts you,
comforts you.
Yeah.
So that's actually what they're supposed to do.
That's
like you're supposed to do that. As men, you're supposed to push around the kid.
That's
like,
funny,
hey,
man. I always get in trouble for doing that. That's what I do with my nieces and nephews and stuff.
Course.
It's just because it's like, and I see it, man. I still got the kid in me. I'm still have that childlike approach to life, so I know how to play on the playground still, and you know, I know how to poke the kids and mess around with them just to like, you know, man, hey, look, the playground's going to get a lot rougher and tougher. So if you don't do it, if I don't do it, you know, you're just going to get knocked out on the playground. And
you're gonna feel it one way or another.
Yeah,
one way or another, it's gonna.
And I'm trying to do it the playful approach to it. I'm trying to be, you know, funny and
it's there's parameters. There's safeguards.
Yeah.
When it's your uncle or your dad, there's safeguards.
Yeah.
Your dad won't do it too much.
Right. Just enough to get you to.
And then your mom's right over there.
Yeah.
So it's like, that's how it's actually supposed to be. So
but too bad all the parents are at work, huh? Nobody's home.
Family Nation God. There's I talk about it all the time. There is an attack within going on.
I know. I see it, man.
Something is eroding within.
Yeah.
And I don't know what it is. You know, people will call it the deep state or they or whatever you want to call it. But there's something happening where they're intentionally making things like this. And the reason I know for sure,
it's just pure evil, man. That's
the reason I know for sure is because you watch it happen in the black community first. In like the 60s.
Yeah.
They made sure to incentivize women to be away from men. You got money. You could have your kid. You got money. The man was incentivized to be away from the woman because then he didn't have to take care of that responsibility. He could do whatever he wanted to do. He didn't have to take on any full-blown responsibility, which is the next step in manhood.
Yep.
To take on that responsibility. And keeping them apart destroyed the community. People think it's like drugs and this and that. It was the separating of the family that destroyed the black community.
And then the only thing you have left is drugs for coping.
Yeah.
Drugs are the coping for the dismantle of that.
As a man, that's gonna hurt you so much.
Immensely, man.
Even if you're like acting like it's fine and you're getting with other women, you're still hurt.
Oh,
you're still gonna cope in some way. So you're gonna do that, and you're gonna just diminish yourself as a man more and more. Yeah. And the woman is gonna become more and more masculine because now she has to raise a young man. She has to
pick up the slack.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she has to work. And then the kids left, and then there's no one teaching integrity, no one giving them rules. You know what I mean? You're like a latchkey kid.
Yep.
You know, your mom's just gone. Like, for the longest time in my household, parents could never get a hold of my mom, or the teachers could never get a hold of my mom because it'd be like, she's at work. And then when she comes home from work, she's sleeping because then she has a second job. Like, you're never going to get a hold of her. There's nothing you can do to me. Like, it was just like that. So times that by millions of people. And that's why you see that community in the strengths that it's in. And then along the way, you know, maybe 90s, in the 90s, the white man, the father, became a goof. When you see it in like the sitcoms, Al Bundy type, they became.
Well, no, you know what? Al Bundy's still a real man. He still held.
One.
Yes,
he was the last one, and after that,
but
it was
generally,
like Raymond, and King of Queens, and like
all those guys, man. Dopey, Roseanne was the man of the house. Yeah, exactly. Full House was 3 dudes in San Francisco. In charge of a bunch of children, and it's all
so they became really dopey, right?
Yeah, that's a very good point.
Into the 2000s, then they became demons slowly.
Yep.
You know, and then 2010s
and vilified,
so,
and
so.
and then now
So now they're trying to do it to everybody. But this is just the old playbook that they use on the black community.
You know what, man, that's really interesting too, because when we went to another thing that's like, it's too taboo to even speak on because it opens too many weird doors, but when we went to that slavery museum, and they're telling you the stories of what these people are going through and this and that, and you can very easily, like, man, not to take anything away from history, but you can very easily apply it to today and go, man, we've all been enslaved.
Oh yeah.
Like now it's not a racial thing. Now
everybody.
It's just a class thing. And the ruling class is very tiny and the slave class is very large, and it's most of us. We're chained to these things that we can't do, we can't get rid of. We have no choice. We need to do it to be able to. Like, it's such a backwards thing, but man, when you really start drawing those comparisons, it's like, man, the plantations just become a factory. You know, there's no 100%. Difference. And everybody's being taken advantage of. So nobody's winning. No, it's not a. It's funny, man.
You either have to become super rich and like you're pulling out of that crab in the bucket thing. You're jumping right out of the bucket. Or you're just in it. And
even then, there's so many stipulations to the money. That's what bugs me, because that doesn't even give you some kind of real sense of freedom. It lets things it lets things come easier, lets you do things easier. But man, like, there's a sweet spot. I'm convinced. Like there's a nice little number where you can have like a very nice, honest, modest life. And not be on many or any radars where people are gonna start going like, hey man, what's this guy up to? How's he doing his thing? We want to cut. You know what I mean? Like without getting the eyes on you.
It's the self-sufficiency. I think that's what it is. I think when you're talking about the stipulations to the money, it all depends what kind of life you're gonna live. Like I was even saying this on the show just recently. I was like, what's probably gonna start happening is people are probably gonna start pooling together and being like, we're gonna buy 500 acres and we're gonna stay and we're all gonna go deep, like 10 acres deep, and we're all just gonna live in there and leave us alone. And that's gonna start happening. Like it's already happening. Homesteads and stuff. People are marketing homesteads. It's gonna start happening more and more. And that's how you would have that modest life. Because with a modest life, what's supposed to happen is you're not supposed to have this life where you're just sitting in your mom's basement or your 1-bedroom place and you don't have to do anything. With a modest life comes work.
Yes.
That's the part that I think a lot of people either don't want to pursue or are just missing. They don't understand that that's the part. But you have to work. You have to do hard work. So whether it's, you know, your own food, your own chickens, like whatever, what have you. Like I was on the phone with somebody just the other day and I was like, where do I have to go to have my own chickens? And she was like breaking it all down. She was like a real estate person. She's like, okay, you have to be away from certain communities. You can't have a homeowners association. She's like, I can find a place for you, like where you can actually have your own chickens. And she was a very Southern woman, so she grew up that way. So she like understood.
Yes.
And that's the type of stuff you have to do.
I get it, man. I'm trying to resort back to that too.
I want to go back to that. It's better for you anyway. It's better to be moving and working. It's better to be knowing exactly where your food comes from. It's better to be in complete control.
But see, there's a big difference too. That's also work that's very rewarding.
It's your
I get
system.
Yes, and I get you know, I can get easily picked on to go like, you just don't want to work and this and that, and you're lazy, you know. But you go, I'm not lazy. I got no problem working, but I want to work on something that actually rewards me and the things around me, not just making some other person above me wealthy and so I can get some scraps or whatever. Like I want to be, you know, again, man, I'm very limited on the amount of meat I eat.
You're eating meat again?
I have fish occasionally. Fish occasionally. I've fished my own fish now from the ocean, which steak. Is look, man, I'm not opposed to it. I'm uncomfortable about it here.
It'll wake you up.
I'm uncomfortable about it over here in these places.
Get some tri-tip in you.
And not I have a buddy that bought a cow. Gave it to a cow farmer, and he's waiting. And that's the stuff I'm being more attracted to. If I'm going to do it, I'll do it that way. I went moose hunting. I saw with my cousins. I experienced that. that was a very good way to see how.
That's so good.
Yeah, man, when you see that, you go, oh, this is how people get food naturally. You go, anybody that's able to do this
they deserve it.
Yeah, you've earned your meal.
Yeah.
Get the biggest steak you want.
Yeah.
Hats off to you. It's cool, man. But until I reach that point, I can't justify going to the store, buying this weird, hormone meat and everything about it, man. The stuff that they're putting in it, like
it's
the life that it's lived.
It's like a cow that got a BBL. Basically.
Yeah, man. Yeah, you want to eat a BBL cow?
That's basically what it's like. But good. I'm glad to hear that you're doing that.
Yeah.
It's vital. It's vital, especially if you go back to that way of living. It becomes fish, whatever cattle that you have, and you're willing to chicken, that
egg.
becomes really vital because it's so nutrient dense. It's
yes,
and that's what you'll really need. I mean, think about when somebody goes not real vegan, but they go commercial vegan.
Yes,
and it's like the Beyond Meat. And
again,
all this stuff.
I've been there. I've done that many times.
But think about you go back to that way of living. How are you getting that?
Yeah, it's not as natural as you expect. I mean, look, man, you can easily grow soy. Soybeans are like, they're a very easy thing to grow. They grow well.
You don't want too much soy.
I mean, whatever, I see arguments on both sides. The Japanese are big on soy, but then there's a whole angle to what it's done to them, and I get it.
Wait, the Japanese are big on soy, but they also, I just read this. They eat, it was like 10 ounces of beef a day. It was like a large amount of meat.
Oh, well, I guess I've seen things where it says Japan really depends where you're from. Because if you're closer to the water, you tend to eat more fish. If you're closer to inland.
There's a show. It's called this Blue Zone show.
Okay.
With blue zones are like where people live to be 100 and they're like
yes, I've watched this.
Us. Yeah. And they were talking, like these Japanese people were talking about these purple potatoes that they eat.
Yes.
That are really high and like really nutrient dense. And then also this beef that they eat. But the thing is, they just don't eat it like us, where it's like a big 10-ounce thing. Yeah. It's just little bits throughout the day.
Man, I started seeing that too, even for a while, the portion sizes, where how skewed we are. We get like, ideally the real man's meal, the is, a steak that's half the plate and then a little bit of potatoes, a little bit of rice, a little bit of veggies maybe. But you got 50% of your plate at least should be meat. And you go, that's way too much. It's if you were hunting your own meat, you're not cutting that big of a steak. You're saving it. You go, no, man, I'm putting this back in the
fridge.
Yeah, I mean, it's gluttonous. It's very
You'd have a tribe, and also you wouldn't just be eating that piece of meat, because if you were the one that hunted it, you'd be eating the organs. Because that's a big thing that they do too in those tribes when they hunt something. I was watching it on this show. It's called the Best Food Review Show or something like that. This guy's Sonny, but he was running with these African dudes, these tribal guys. And then when they hunt, they'll keep the cow or whatever they've hunted alive, and then they get the milk, right, and then they poke it and get the blood, and they'll mix that and they'll drink that.
I've seen that,
but that's only something that the guys who hunt get, right? Because they need the energy.
I guess, man, and maybe that's their like psychedelic sort of to tap them into the earth.
Well, but it's tap them into the earth maybe, but also it's so rich in nutrients, and they're the guys who need the nutrients the most. So they're bringing back the meat and everything.
And I get it too. They're getting things fresh. They're getting fresh milk, fresh blood. That's a very interesting thing. Think it's literal life force.
And also, weirdly enough, they develop to like that.
Yeah.
Like there's certain things that I like I love liver, but if you give that to someone that doesn't have liver all the time, they're like, this is disgusting. This is terrible.
Well, the way I had the understanding, the epiphany for me was that, that argument when I was vegan and everybody would do that argument of plants are alive. Don't you have feelings for plants? Don't you feel bad?
They scream, you're a monster.
But then when you think about it, I started thinking about that, but I go, but that's the better food. Eat the food that's alive. You know what I'm saying? Because even when the lion hunts, the lion's hunting something, it eats the meat when the meat is alive,
and then
when it's pumping, right? So that energy is there in the meat.
Yeah.
Whereas when you kill it, you slaughter it, you put it in the house, you put it in the freezer, you send it in the trucks, it gets into the grocery store. Yeah. That's literal dead energy. The energy is long gone from it.
Yeah, and apparently, like I know what you're talking about. Apparently, vegetables and fruits, they'll hold that energy a little longer.
Well, think about it. Like, man, it's not until you pick it. Well, right. So if you have a garden and I'm picking the lettuce out,
even after you pick it, apparently,
sure, it has this lifespan. Yeah, you can replant it and it'll regrow. Yeah. Right. So there, that's definitely. But just in that thing of like, yeah, man, when you pluck it, that vibration of life is still in it. Mm-hmm. It hasn't wilted. It hasn't rotted. It hasn't fermented. Yeah. So there is a real live energy to it that I can appreciate, and I'm not against meat. So but I just need it in that right context.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what turned me on. Like I again, first time I fished like rod to table within an hour or two.
Yeah.
And that was a different way of eating. I've never eaten that way before.
I've never done that.
Right. Fish is always, I don't know, a minimum of a few days old, let's say, if I'm lucky and I bought it at some fancy place.
Yeah.
But there's a very different time frame in that. Like it's
interesting.
It's different. It's something to also be thankful for. You know what I mean? On some greater tip to it of like, man, I put this thing in the water. Life came out. Yeah. I'm very thankful for this moment, this interaction.
You finally got, like, that's the ultimate part of our natural reward system.
Yeah, and
put in the work and
just
get something.
And our thing. You sent me that video, right, of the guy doing all this stuff and everything that's mechanical and technological in life is replaced by people.
Yeah.
You remember that animation? It's like the people are the elevator that take you up, and then you go to work just to be a doormat. And then but then that's what you work towards. Like, this is my life that I'm proud of, and then I take this cart and I run it through the grocery store, and I just that's what I work towards, is this food reward system.
Let's actually play that.
You have it on deck?
Yeah.
Oh, you were gonna play it. Oh, yeah, that's the funny stuff to this all.
Oh shoot, I can't hear it move me. Yeah. This is so weird.
Yeah, it's so deep, man, and it's very. I really like the way that you can accomplish that. Like, look, no words needed, just a very funny animation. It's like a Sunday comic almost.
People are the door.
They're everything. They were the elevator. Yeah, look, the weight. Fat people are the weight in the elevator. It's really, I love it.
He gets out.
And you're like, yeah, what is it? Where is this guy doing? What is he?
The hanger is a person.
Yeah, everything, man. And then he just does it just to be a doormat.
Yeah.
Ugh, heartbreaking. Wipes, and they even do he wipes his shoes on his back.
Yeah.
Like, you just, come on.
How crazy is that?
Life, man.
The people are, but that's really what it's like, right?
Yeah.
Like, and think about it.
That's the cycle that the machine wants you in.
Yes.
The machine really wants you, because the machine needs you to be all those things.
Yep.
They need you to do that. So it's really, it's funny, man. We just keep opening these doors that the Amish had it figured out forever. It's so funny.
Here for anybody that's too small for
God
them.
Bless the Amish.
But yeah, look, I mean,
it's too funny.
That's really what it is at the end of the day. There's probably a lot of people who work in offices and stuff like that where they do feel like this.
I don't think you can not.
They tap an app and then the person shows up in a car. You get in the car. They won't talk to you because you've put the setting on that you don't want to be spoken to.
Oh, that's a new setting feature?
Oh, yeah. That's crazy, eh? So then you get out, doorman, possibly, right? Yeah, like it's crazy. Elevator
and they're trying
possibly.
And what's really interesting about this animation is, like, all those people that are being used and stuff, it's this great, like, look, they don't say a word to each other.
Yeah.
They're just like drones, and that's what we're doing too. We're taking all this humanity out.
Yeah.
No interaction. It's like, man, think about it. You can get paid on Uber. You could do whatever you do, pick up the people, do this, do that. Don't talk to anybody.
Yeah.
It'll ruin your score. If you say one word to me, you're done.
Yeah.
And you remove any kind of conversation, any sort of humanity, just for you to collect your little cheese, your little scraps at the end of it.
Yeah, man.
You know, and there's just less and less people along the way. Nobody hands you a paycheck. Hey, great work. Nobody. No. We're removing all the people out of these systems and out of these things. So it's like you're kind of we're forcing everybody to be autistic almost.
Yeah. Whew,
you know,
buddy, you have no idea how weird it is for me, because I was doing Uber Eats, you know, like I would I remember one time we were talking and you're like, sometimes I think you're one of those people, one of those Masons or something trying to recruit me, and I'm literally in this horrible apartment building doing Uber Eats. I'm like holding a pizza and I'm like, yeah, that's what I am. I'm fucking, this is my cover.
And ever since I said that, look what's happened.
I know, right?
But
it was crazy doing Uber Eats, because you would see that exact thing that you're talking about. That's exactly how people would treat you.
Yeah.
You'd go to the store to pick up something, and it would get to the point where sometimes, like I speak, right? Like I speak for a living. I wanted to stand up, like all this stuff. So I'm used to talking to people. I guess you can say an outgoing person in that sense. Like I speak to people, and it would just get to the point where people would just be like, number, like you'd walk in, number.
Yeah.
And I would make it a point, because after so long, 12 hours a day, every day, you'd get pissed off. You'd be like, hey man, how are you? How you doing? Like you're gonna give me the human part of this.
Oh man, I'm wringing it out of people. I'm wringing it out of people. I yelled at a lady the other day at Home Depot. I didn't yell at her, but this other lady was complaining that there was no more checkout people.
Yeah.
And there was only self-checkout. You can only do it yourself. And then there was an employee there just making sure that everybody could do self-checkout.
Yeah, I hate that.
And then the lady came and she's like, oh, I got to do it? And the lady's like, no, I'll help you.
Yeah.
And then she's like, but it's only here. She's like, well, I'll just do it then, because what are you going to do? Like, if you're going to help me. And then I said, yeah, if you're going to help, get behind that cash register again. And then they took it like, I was being too serious. Like I was being playful, but they took it way too serious. And then another employee came by and they're like, whoa, like shocked that I would say that.
Yeah.
But you go, man, look, this is what the people want. People don't want these machines. They want humans.
Yeah.
And then what are you doing? You're doing the machines, and then you go, oh, theft is up, this is up. And you go, well, yeah, man, you're making me work for you.
Yeah.
I didn't sign on to be the employee, so why am I doing the employee stuff?
Bro, you know they're even getting to the point where those same machines are asking for tips.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy?
And then the thing that's like hilariously frustrating is the people, like, man, I'm trying to break that fourth wall of like, look, I'm a human. We're here. Let's talk.
Yeah.
It's not all just boops and beeps with these machines.
Yeah.
We're here. Let's have this dialogue. Let's break out of this idea of what it's supposed to be, and let's get back to some kind of thing. But you can't even like get to that point. They're not. It's so removed.
Man, it's wild. And that was with the people when you'd go get the food, and then it'd be even worse of like when you have to drop it off.
Yeah.
Because
don't look at me, don't ring the doorbell.
Well, yeah, all
text
that
me.
Stuff. You'd put it down. If you were in like an apartment building, you'd put it down and you have to walk to the elevator, and you're walking a certain amount of way, and you know by the way they're grabbing it, they were waiting for you to walk away.
Yeah.
They know that you're there. And they're like, I don't even want to have that interaction.
See, I was having the opposite. I was trying to run to the door as quick as I could, just to like, hello, just to give them a hi, just something to like, there's a human here.
Yeah.
Man, and this was something, man, this was like a joke from back in the day of like the idea of soul food. People don't get it. Like there's something to, hey, look, here we are. This is an interaction. You will run a restaurant. I make a connection with you, man. Just you want to serve me food. I would love to support your business. Yeah. Let's have this thing of like, man, and you put your heart and soul into food, soul food, and I eat it and I feel good about that.
Yeah.
Whereas you go now, you're just ordering in a box. I tell the box what I want. The box gives me food from somebody that's working this job that they don't want to do.
Yeah.
It's like, what kind of energy is being put in the food? And then our guts are rotted. We're all
Well, I even you were calling me out before because I was like, you showed me that McDonald's video and I was like, oh, I just had McDonald's like hours before you sent it to me, and it was the same type of weird energy you're talking about. The box,
yeah.
Like I went up to the register. I felt like, you know what it feels? It feels like Demolition Man. I feel like I'm Wesley Snipes from Demolition Man. So I walk up to the cash register. There's no one there. This other family kind of looks at me weird, and they walk over to the box and they start making their order at the box or whatever. And then I'm waiting, and then finally somebody's like, "Oh, you want me to?" And I'm like, "Is there no like what?" Like,
I know.
Yeah, come
human.
Here. Just let me say
human.
The thing
It's
crazy.
No more robots, man. I saw in California they had a McDonald's that there was no people. You don't have to see a person.
Yeah.
Order the box. It comes out of the chute or whatever.
I've picked up food from places
so you
like
don't
that.
have to. There's no human.
Nothing.
And I go, man,
It's so
you
weird.
don't see it, and this is our food. This is what we're. And look, I'm not judging on the McDonald's thing, but I am.
Of course,
judging.
You're getting rid of people.
No, but
I judge any company that gets rid of
you.
people.
And I say just because when I reflect, I've had like, man, diet's a funny thing because you try to discipline yourself one way, but these mistakes happen. We slip up. We're human. It happens. So I'm not perfect by any means.
Yeah.
But I realize how long it's been since I've had McDonald's.
Good.
And it's been like years.
And
I go, man, that's funny because it's not even something I crave anymore.
Good.
It's really just like this thing that's kind of out of my brain finally. and it's such a relief, and it pains me to see other good people, cuz man, those were my fattest days.
Yeah.
If we're allowed to say fattest anymore. But those were, man, that was where I was heavy. And then even that video made sense too, where you go, they burn the food with liquid copper or whatever. That seemed fake to me. It seemed like there was a magic trick to it. Where you go, the food's not really burning. Like, this has to be, there's some kind of science or physics to it that's making it. But you go, no, it's just really toxic, poison, plastic food that doesn't burn.
It's not
and then
regular.
it sits in our guts, and you go, yeah, no wonder. Because even now I eat good food, and it's almost like I can eat as much as I want, and it doesn't stay with me. I get the nutrients and I get rid of what isn't there.
Yeah.
But that stuff really would just stay with you. It stays
weird.
in your gut. It rots, and you bloat, and
It's wild.
You get inflamed, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, really weird stuff, man.
What else did we have? What else were you going?
We
had some stuff.
We had this girl talking about those parties. Well, let me go to the Joe Rogan one. Actually, you know what? Can you talk for 2 minutes? Can you
Here
talk to
I
the
am
audience?
talking for 2. What, you want a bathroom break?
Yeah.
Go, man.
Yeah, talk. You're a comedian.
Yeah, I can talk to people.
Hey, tell a joke. Comedians love that, right?
You know what the problem is, man? I haven't told a joke in years now. I haven't. I just say thoughts occasionally, and people laugh at it, but I haven't said a joke in a while. I'm just, it's a strange world we live in. It's really weird. I laugh at the absurdity to it all. I laugh at how, that was...
No edits.
Man, that was almost too fast.
I gotta go fast.
That's pretty incredible. I really don't have many jokes, man. I just look at life, and
when I watched you do that set, I wasn't just saying that. And I sent Dino a message about it too. It was really inspiring. And we talked about it a little, but like when you see, like, I've been to Joe Rogan live. I almost saw Dave Chappelle live, but I missed it. I've seen Bill Burr live. I've seen guys live, the big names, quote unquote. And when you see them do it, you're like, in these places, it doesn't make any sense, you know? It's kind of like if you were a kid taking math and then you saw somebody who was like Einstein and they're doing stuff, and you're like, how does my 2 + 2 get to that point? Like, I don't understand.
Right.
But when I saw you guys doing it, from the way that he was running the show, and because he kind of broke it down. He's like, this is all me. I make whatever I make. I've picked the people. This is how it's going to go. I was like, that's how you do it. Okay. I'm like, something just clicked. And then when I saw you do your set, I was like, that's how, like, I'm not saying that's how I'm going to do stand-up, but I'm like, there's the space, you know? Like, you keep seeing slapstick people, and you keep seeing these people who are like the goats. But when I saw what you were doing, I was like, that's the space that I can be in. Like, I understand. There's the tribe of things.
Yeah.
Like, it made sense.
Yeah.
It made a lot of sense. And I was like, I can not I can do that, because I know those are your bits and you're working on your stuff and everything and you've been at it for years. But I was like, that's what I can work towards. Like, this makes sense now. I'm like, I understand. Because you were saying to me, you're like, you should just do your stand-up, you know, have some live shows, maybe a live podcast, and work it out that way. And I was like, I can't do that. And then when I saw you guys doing the stand-up, I was like, oh, I can do that.
It's very obtainable, but also it's very, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, you just can't be hung up on all the bells and whistles of things.
No, because there's a certain thing, like there's a certain element, and to me it's funny, again, man, it's just words to me. Like when I think about it, like the way, how am I trying to fantasize or manifest how I want it to turn out? Yeah. It's not these mega places anymore. And likewise, I don't want every seat filled.
Yeah.
I don't want, like, even, because then what you get rid of every seat, and now I sold out. Yeah. I'm a sellout.
Yeah.
you know, like, again, man, it's that wording.
Yeah.
I'll do a 500 seat theater,
yeah,
but I'll leave 3 seats just so it doesn't, so I can't say, hey man, every seat was spoken for. I don't need to do it.
Yeah.
And maybe it's in my name. Maybe that's what the Soldo is for. Maybe it's sold 0 or something, man. Like, you know, I'm not, cause that's not the thing, man. To me, it's not, this stuff that we're doing is not sales. Yeah. You know, like I don't like that approach to it. Like, I'm trying to sell myself, or I'm selling an idea. It's like, no, man, I'm trying to make an effort to get humans to come together a little differently, to get us to break certain facades, right? You don't need it, and we don't need those 5,000 people, because change is very, like, even influential change is minuscule too, man. I don't need to affect millions of people. I can affect 10.
Yeah.
And those 10 can, you know, that's a really cool ripple. Yeah. When you really start to see how that ripple works and how we really affect each other and inspire each other, like again, man, what you've done with this and the things that we've talked about, you've opened my eyes to stuff that's like far greater than any big platform, you know, will have me thinking.
Yeah.
You know, that this is what I need, or these industry giants are telling me this is what you're supposed to do. It's like, no, man, you've managed to connect with me on a level where I can see and look at things differently, to go, there's a different way to navigate this stuff altogether. Yeah. Dino's another great person at doing that stuff, of like, he's always been, for a while now, we've known each other forever, but for a while he's been focusing on curating his own shows, and and you control the energy better, man. When I just do these clubs, it's like, man, I can end up on lineups with people that, not that I have to agree with everybody, but there's energies that, man, I don't want to really be involved with, you know, and then it's like, but you're just on the same bill.
Yeah, you have to be.
You know, and then when you really look at this thing as like this bigger span of time,
and
it's like, who knows with some of the people you'll end up with. True. In terms of what they'll end up doing, and how in turn that'll reflect on you, of like, man, I was on this show. You know, you can kind of really get lumped into a bad crowd very easily that way.
Yeah.
But when you're in charge of the energy, it's a little different.
That's true.
And likewise too, it's like, even when you watch me do stuff on stage, it's being with the right comics that really allows me to unlock better, more thoughtful versions of myself. Yeah. Because when I'm on just a flippy dippy lineup of whatever, and it's just laughs per buck and all that stuff, you know, it's a different tone, it's a different energy. What I bring to the table doesn't hit necessarily on those
I know what you mean,
kind of stuff, right? So it is something where, and then likewise, we kind of also help balance our one another's material. Because if I can talk a little crazy first, Now you can watch a buddy of mine also talk crazy. His crazy will make a little more sense because of my crazy.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's also something that, because too much of me would also be too much, right? Like, especially for strangers. It's one thing for people that understand me or know what message I'm trying to convey. But if it's just strangers, it's like, you know,
it gets hard.
It's a stomach full, man. It's hard to digest everything that I'm bringing to the table. So
when you were doing it, it was very much like, it felt like a lot of, not like you were similar to Carlin, but it felt there was like the same type of energy from the crowd almost that you'd see from Carlin. Like, especially when you were at that point where you were like, and I don't think it was a part of the act, I think you were just doing it. You're like, do you understand? Huh? Like, do you interact? Hello? Like, you were like doing this one part. And I was like, and then the people started like, kind of like, it was like you were like trying to wake them up a little bit.
Yeah, I think you got to. I think tone is very important again too, to kind of like jog their brain a bit to go, wait, what's happening? Am I missing something? Because people go on autopilot very easily.
Yeah, definitely.
And jokes have a very specific rhythm to it where you can kind of just tell a joke, ba-ba-da-ba-da, da-da, and people's brains just know how to jog and go, ha, and they laugh. But to really snap them out of it and go like, hey, let's really pay attention to what's going to be said. Have some thought, have some input, man. Just be present. Yeah. You sometimes need to snap them out of that because they're not like, that's not the typical way to do it. So I get and I like that, man. I like asking them questions that are, you know, even when it's rhetorical, it's just something to, just get them to try and.
Yeah, it was really good to see people, like, you're trying to make them think. And the jokes had to make people think. And that's why I bring up Carlin, because sometimes he'd be saying something and it wasn't exactly punchline.
Right.
Everybody was thinking, you know. And
I think that's another important aspect of it too. It's like, what do you want to like? Yeah. And I've done it, man. I've done the dirty jokes. I did all that stuff. But then it's like, but again, now what happens when I step off stage? I did the dirty jokes. I get off stage. Now I'm talking to a bunch of whoever. Yeah. I'm talking to dudes or chicks about a bunch of, nonsense that it's like, I really don't even want to be discussing this stuff with strangers. I don't need to talk about your genitals because I talked about my genitals, but I opened that door. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, well, I don't want to invite this conversation in. I gotta approach it differently. I gotta write a bit different. Yeah. And then also, that wasn't even at the time. It was what I was focused on a lot of, I suppose, but that wasn't really what I was about.
You wanted to be funny.
Yeah, and then so you look around and you're like, funny equates to vulgar, dirty, shocking, and then you go, well, no, my humor is different altogether. What I think is funny isn't shocking. What I think is funny is absurd. Is reality is funny to me, right? So how do I encapsulate that to be in this palliative way to?
That's interesting.
To digest it.
When we said open the door, that's kind of what happens. You open certain doors.
Yeah, with the words we speak, right? With the spells we cast. Ooh, right? Yeah. But it's like,
you gotta open the right ones.
Yeah,
because it's a service to open the right ones with people, because you can do a bunch of dick jokes or whatever, but when you do some stuff like you were doing, where you're talking about certain issues, making people think about going to war and things of that nature, it opens a different door that I think people need to have opened, especially now.
I think so. Yeah. In a way, it's like, look, we tried being nice about it. We pussyfooted around a bunch of stuff. Yeah. And now it's like, well, you got rid of a bunch of things that we can't say. You got rid of those dudes that can't say those things. You know what I mean? You didn't even get rid of them, but you shoved them in these little, dark alleys, these basements where the comedy clubs always were, in this way too. You just kind of, you shove them back in, and you go and you open this door, and it's like, well, these are the words we can say. Yeah. And it's all a bunch of foolish, silly words. Yeah. And we can't laugh about it. We can't critique it. We can't, it's, I don't know.
Yeah, man. I like it. It really did inspire me. And I already had the set that I was working on, the smaller set. And I was like, okay, so this kind of does make sense. And another thing was, like, you don't always have to be making them laugh. Although there is that style of comedy, that like Boston type of like joke.
Yeah, you can do it, but also like again, man, you're gonna do it for an hour. I mean, that's fine. I guess you're a real, you're a machine at jokes, and that's cool. Yeah. But also, it's like, man, this is a format. You're touching real human beings with your concepts and your thoughts, and there's been there's just been a detune in comedy lately, and I feel like
when I think of inspirational, like, sets that have inspired me and jokes that have inspired me, I always think of, and I've brought it up with you many times, when Chappelle was on stage and he was like getting real with people. He's talking about the whole monster of the industry, but he was just like, what if it wasn't even like a funny thing. He was just talking about like the assaults, like the Harvey Weinsteins, all that stuff. And he was like, what if I told you that's not even the worst of it? And I was like, what is worse than that? Like, that really like sparked my brain. I'm like, what's worse than that?
It that's opens a bunch of
the worst thing.
Right.
And what is worse than that? What's he talking about?
Opens up a whole new world, man.
Yeah,
it really does.
Very, very interesting. Or even to the, I think it was a clip that you sent me. I don't know if I sent it. Like, it was Patrice, and he was talking about, I don't even think it was stand up. I think he might have been on a podcast, but he was like talking about, people walking backwards into dark rooms. And when he said that makes me think. That makes me think a lot, and it makes me look at the industry a lot different. It makes me look at certain people who are in the industry a lot different. And that's the type of stuff I think comedians are supposed to be activating in people. Yeah. You're supposed to be relieving a little bit of the tension that they have from their day, but then also they're supposed to walk away with a different perspective.
Yes.
And that's what that did, those two things.
We're supposed to be the ones, again, man, and I like to play it historically, like we're what's the root of all this stuff? The jester was supposed to stand up to the king. And he was the only one that was able to tell the king what you were the only one that was able to make fun of the king. Yeah. Hey, and without getting your head cut off. Yeah. Right? And so people would look to the jester to be like, tell the king. Yeah. Let him know what's up, man, because things are getting screwy around here. You got to tell him. We'll get killed if we don't.
Really?
Yeah, man, that's what it was. The jester was right next to the king. He was able to make the king laugh. Wow. And the king would select the jester, and the jester was the only one that could tell the king he wasn't wearing clothes. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? But now we're at the point where we, as the jester even, have to affirm everything that the king says. Yeah. We don't get to play like, man, like look at even let's play even politically now what's going on. Yeah. When I grew up with comedy, there was never a weekend when there wasn't one politician or another getting made fun of. And torn to shreds. You know what I mean? Completely just buffooned into and humiliated, and rightfully so, for all the dumb things that they do. The countless amount of dumb things that they all do. All of them. Now we've had this tear in the last few years where there were some politicians in particular that were getting roasted left, right, and center.
Of course.
And now we're at a point where they have never been dumber. They have never been more
Ridiculous.
Yeah, foolish.
Like really
and
ridiculous.
and nobody's saying anything. Nobody's making a joke. Why where are all the impressionists making impressions of all these really dumb things that they're doing that we've been able to do forever? So it's like comedy really took this weird back seat in the last little bit.
Yeah.
And the way that certain things are tabooed where they really should not be, like we should be roasting every single one of these things, man. And somehow we can't. Somehow we get canceled when you say one word equals this, therefore this, therefore it's like this full flow chart. Therefore you are this, and therefore this is where you lean.
Yeah.
And you go,
yeah.
man,
I think that's what a lot of it is. It's like if you lean a certain way, you can't make fun of Biden. Even if you're the person who can do the best Biden impression, you can't do it. Even though Trump
When did that start?
I don't know.
Because from what I remember politics being a blurred line.
Bush, you could make fun of like crazy.
Right.
Remember, I think it wore off with Obama.
You could make fun of Obama a little bit. They still did. You still had guys that knew how to do the impression and knew how to do the Obama talk. That was, there was those guys, the Saturday Night Live guys. You couldn't do blackface, so you had to get black comics to do it, or the Canadian Prime Minister, I guess you could maybe get him to do it. But you weren't allowed to do that, man. And they still, they managed to find ways to satire the left and the right. Yeah. And now somehow everyone is free from satire. They are free from...
with Trump, people made fun of a lot, But the thing is, if
nonstop, and they still do, where he is no longer president, which is also another funny thing because no other president got made fun of after presidency.
It died away.
You see what I mean? It always it keeps up with the new one. Yeah. And then you go, and this guy's stumbling, he's falling asleep everywhere. He can't string a sentence together. Yeah. He may have 8 different body doubles, whatever it is, and. You know what I mean? You see it, man. You see what the internet is doing and saying. Yeah, he's not the same
guy. He's different.
So you see that, and nobody's poking fun at it.
Yeah.
There's not like a new hour-long Saturday Night Live special every week of how he's tripping on steps or how. Like, man, it's never been easier to tell a joke.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying? And yet we're not doing that. We're finding ways to villainize all this other dumb stuff.
Yeah, that's very true.
I don't like it.
See, the thing is, and I think I forget where I heard it. I've heard comedians say that. I think I've heard a comedian say it, but like comedians aren't supposed to have they're not supposed to have a side. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be able to just go after both sides within one set.
And man, I've never seen it. Like the hypocrisy is just getting too funny. Yeah. And it's really like I'm really trying to find ways to play that idea. But like, man, you think about I saw all these left-leaning comedians. And okay, just for the record, I've never voted. I will probably never vote, and I don't think I would ever really recommend people to vote. I don't believe in that system. Yeah. I believe it is completely infiltrated. I'm not going to do it, man. I'm not going to contribute to it. But again, I've come across a lot of people that say because of that, I don't get an opinion. Yeah. And I like to think the opposite. I think, man, I didn't pick any teams, so I get the biggest opinion. I was gonna say the ultimate. I get to shoot on both sides at who's everyone that's doing what wrong. Yeah. That's how I take it. But now I'm seeing a lot of left-leaning comics that I admire that are showing their cards, that are letting you know their affiliation, which is weird. Yeah. Because I do think that you're supposed to, hey man, don't take any sides. Yeah, like makes more sense. Should see it, see the stupidity of it all. Yeah, exactly. And I'm seeing them, and they're talking all this stuff about like gun control and gun rights and this and that. And so they're super against the gun. The guns are the deadliest thing ever. Yeah. But then it's the exact same group of people that'll go, it's totally fine to kill your kid in womb. Yeah. But you see what I mean? Like, so what are you talking about? Yeah. You're going to sit there like, man, you know what I mean? Say it with some kind of real thing.
I do.
Because are you really against that, or are you really just scratching that itch because it's the trend or it's the thing that we're supposed to get mad at this week?
That's what I was going to say. But and I think this is something that may have affected those type of comedians you're talking about, is the virtue signaling.
Yeah.
By me doing this, I'm virtue signaling. This is how much I believe in this. That it's my material and that I'm saying it in front of everybody. You know what I mean? That whole virtue signal, which is sad, which is very sad.
I think so, man. Because look, I've been categorized as a lot of things.
Really?
By what I've said on stage.
Yeah.
Many different faiths, many different affiliations, political affiliations, and again, none of which are true. You know, so it's like I'll allow people to assume what you want to assume.
Yeah, of course.
But I know where I stand on it.
Yeah.
So it is this very funny thing to see the way that people perceive certain things just based on the words that are used or the ideas or perspective you just choose to take. Mm-hmm. I'm not sticking by something, but hey, look at it. Look at this from this angle.
Yeah.
What's your take on it? What's your...
That's why I can't wait to play around with the material I have, because I'm black and I'm dressed like this. So it's like, that's obviously a left-leaning person.
Sure.
You know?
You better be. You better be left-leaning, man. I seen it. Right-wing black dudes do not get a lot of love, man. They get... and that's the fun again, man. That's the hilarity of it all. Yeah. That like we can sit here and everybody can chant all these slogans and everything, and they're on the right side of history for everything. But then if you pick a different affiliation, your race doesn't even matter anymore. You're an idiot. I don't care what you say. None of what you say matters.
Yeah.
You know, and you go, wait a minute, I thought we were saying something else last year. And you go, like, I
thought I mattered last year.
Yeah, and but you see what I mean? And then just because you're not on our team, now you no longer do.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear what you say. I don't want to. It's such a...
It's wild.
It's a silly way to break things down, yeah.
I can't wait.
But again, man, with you and comedy and the channel and everything... you have people that have eyes on you, that want to see you, that appreciate what you do, appreciate what you say. I can't stress it enough. Again, take it from me being from the future. Yeah. Just like
from the future.
Yeah, man, this stuff's gonna get so more and more censored and worse, and any of the dissident voices are going to get silenced really quickly, really easily.
Well,
figure out a way to get to these people live and direct. The sooner the better. Well, for yourself, for them, for every which way.
Well,
you know?
I want to do stand up and move all around, you know, go everywhere, you know. Except for California. I feel like they won't like me in California.
Yeah, and don't get it twisted. California is a beautiful place.
Of course
it's so massive. It literally has the entire population of Canada within it.
Yeah.
And so it is not what they make it seem like it is. It's 100% not, man. You go in the north, they are not the same people as in the south. Okay, they are not the same people as near the border. They are not the same people near the military towns.
True.
It's such a big and vast space, but we really get one perception of it.
Yeah, I guess so.
And it's
that's true. These small minorities tend to be the loudest, and it makes people think that
like they represent the biggest.
The world really works that way.
Yeah,
and
it doesn't.
When it's really a really small percentage of people. It's very interesting. But yeah, I want to do the stand-up. Well, I'm going to do the stand-up. Live podcast is very interesting. But also the thing I've been thinking about is an email show.
People email in questions?
No. Just if you sign up with your email, there's a show that you get. And it's not between any of these platforms.
How would you do? Yeah, that's a great idea. That's a great idea.
That's the thing. It's like right now it's an idea. When I slowly figure out how that actually works and what it looks like, that's what I would move towards.
Oh man, I wish you immense success on that. I
just
hope you
tell
get
people like, give me $1.
Yeah, and see, you know, that's a funny. Yeah, I like that mentality.
Give me $1 a month, and I'll give you 5 episodes a week.
Yeah, see again, and that's that number thing that I like, where I think there is a right number, where it's like, man, the right amount of crowd. the right price for tickets.
Yeah.
And you make an honest living. I don't need to be doing it all the time. I get to focus on real life still.
Yeah.
I get to, you know, put time into a family. I get to things that matter beyond that.
Family, nation, God, man.
Yeah, man.
That's really people are so I really do believe if you don't have kids, it's fine. I understand. But I really do believe everybody's supposed to walk through that.
I would like to.
I think everybody is supposed to walk through that stage because you see what kind of, you know what I think of? I think of like, what's her name? Chelsea Handler and like Seth Rogen.
Yeah.
And they're bragging about not having kids. And the first thing they get to do is like smoke a vape pen and stuff. And honestly, that is not how adults are supposed to be. As you get older, you shouldn't be 50 and that's where your mind's at. Shouldn't be 60 and that's where your mind's at. You see their values and priorities are very skewed when they don't have kids. And it's not like something happens. There's something that happens to a man and a woman when you decide to have a child, and it doesn't just have to do with you and your relationship with the kid. It's also you and your relationship with your father. I believe that, you know, when your father passes, my father already passed away. When your father passes, there's a lot of things that he transfers to you. There's a lot of generational curses that need to be broken, and you break them for him through your relationship with your children.
Very interesting.
There's something that happens. It's like going into the belly of the beast. Like you feel like once you grow up, that's the last stage of manhood. Then you have a kid. And you start realizing there's another stage. And then that kid becomes a man, and then you realize there's another stage.
Yeah, and then you become a grandfather.
Yeah.
And then there's a...
Well, it's not even just a grandfather. It's just like a father that has like now a man in his life that he's...
But then when that man becomes a man and has a kid, then you end up... Yeah.
There's even more
there is a great...
that happens.
It's
a very interesting thing. I really do believe... I feel like almost like they're like psychedelic experiences. Like I look at psychedelic experiences and I'm like, everybody should do it once.
I agree.
You know, although there is a huge responsibility, it's not the same because you know, once you walk away from the mushrooms, you're good. You know, a child's forever, but
forever pet.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. No, but I had at one point 4 generations of my family all alive at once.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and so like, you know, photo, we're all so me, my father, my grandfather, and my great grandfather. Yeah, we're all alive. We've spent time in the same room together.
That's what
we've had conversations.
My wife's gonna have that.
Yeah, it's a very powerful and surreal kind of thing that takes a really long time. Like again, so I would have been in my 20s when that was like a thing, and we were all around and functional. But that's like something that took me a really long time to comprehend, like the magnitude of it, you know, and it was really, it's very profound to kind of to see and experience. There is an importance in that. For sure.
It's really weird. Really weird. But like, yeah, I think, especially when I see people who are older and they don't have kids. And it's not that, because some people just, you know, haven't gotten to the point yet. There's other people who have decided that they're never going to do that. And those people, it's almost like when a man decides to, or falls into the situation of never losing his virginity and he's like in his 40s. There is a thing.
What do they call those guys?
Weird. They're weirdos. When you're weird like that, there's something odd about you because you haven't walked through that stage. I think there's stages that you're supposed to walk through at a certain time.
It's infantile almost.
Yeah,
I get it, man, and that's like a thing. I don't fight it in myself. I kind of embrace it, but that the inner kid in me.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm still kind of down the middle where I am an adult. I'm thinking about adulthood and adult life and all those steps. But there is a big part of me that doesn't want to eliminate that kid that I once was too.
I have that too.
Childlike wonder that kind of, you see it dim in certain people, right?
You see it dim in certain people, but and it's funny. It's funny. I have a friend who actually said this. But that what you have, that is meant for a kid.
I get it. It's the Peter Pan thing.
No. It'll help you with kids.
Oh, with raising. And yeah. I feel that. I feel that. I feel like I can connect with them a lot. Like,
because I had a friend and he actually said that exact thing. He's like, they give you a great excuse to like relive your childhood because they come up to you and they want to do silly stuff. Yeah. And you're like, okay, let's pretend, let's do silly stuff. Let's go on the slide. It gives you this new excuse to do all these things.
Rejuvenates creativity.
Yeah, it's nuts.
That's pretty cool.
It's nuts. I remember when he said that to me, I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That does. That's
because you're not going to just be like the adult and be like, no, I'm not going on the slide. You're going to be like, whatever you want, man.
Right.
Let's go.
Right.
You see some guys even like they're dressed up in tutus and they don't know what to do. They can't say no.
Some people take it too far. Even with their kids, they let their kids have too much control, slap the kid around.
I remember like my wife brought that up and I'm like, I'm never doing that with our kid.
No, guy or girl, man.
No, we're not doing that.
I know. You don't get to play every game you want to play. Like some games take time.
Like you're gonna do that.
Yeah, that's not.
You have dresses already.
Yeah,
you're gonna put on a dress.
I'm not doing that. But I guess also, I don't know. That's a tough one too, because then you see those guys that shift because you have a girl, like you're expecting a boy, so you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna be a man, and then you end up with a girl, and you're like, I gotta do the girly stuff now.
Yeah, whatever. You still got to be that man presence for them. But it's an interesting thing.
Absolutely,
it's a very interesting thing to go through, and. Yeah, I've always felt that way. Even like I've always felt that way since I was young. I'm like, guys are supposed to have kids, like they should. Like, unless you can't, if you can't, then that is a bad situation, and I'm sorry for that situation. But if you can, and you're with somebody and you love them, and you're staying together, you should, and you're both on the same page of it all.
I agree. I always wanted to since I was young.
Really?
Almost too young. Yeah. And I'm very glad that I didn't, because I was not in the right headspace.
Like if I could have, with the right person and the right mind and everything, it's like I would have started when I was like 22.
Yeah, there was a lot of elements missing. I really wanted kids early. My parents had kids early.
Yeah,
I was like, I thought that was a cool, and I thought, okay, great.
It is.
But I'm very, like, even now, I'm not sure I'm fully mentally stable to have a kid just yet. No, because I have a lot of, man, I got a rage in me towards like, no, but towards like, it's something is going to, like, I'm prepared for that side of parenting and adulthood and that I'm fine with, but I'm not mentally prepared enough yet for like, man, if something tries to mess with that system, if something tries to come into my house or mess with my kid or mess with my wife or family, like I don't have that mental stability.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I would really.
Yeah. No.
So I don't know if that's something that needs to simmer, or if it's something that needs to be correctly embraced.
Yeah.
Or if I just need a hunting license or something. I don't know what it is, but
a hunting license, all those things, like, because that's supposed to be there. I think for defense, that's
but the way we're moving around now with a lot of stuff, medicine, society, sociologically, that stuff is. Yeah, I don't know if I'm there, man. I might get into more trouble and do more harm for my child. By the way,
well, maybe. I think when it comes to whether it be kids or starting a YouTube channel or doing stand up. Anything when it comes to preparedness, you will only be, even if you feel like you're 100% prepared, you're only 70% there.
Absolutely.
The other 30% fills in when you step in. God does not give you the tools, the responsibility, the things you need until you step into the responsibility. There was a rabbi that actually said that. He was like, rabbis, priests, all sorts. But there was a rabbi that was saying that he's like, so many people, they want money for 10 people. He's like, but it's just you. He's like, so why would God give you money for 10 people when it's just you? He goes, maybe if you step into more responsibility and there's you and a wife, he's like, he'll give you money for you and a wife. He's like, you have 3 kids, he'll give you money for you and the 3 kids.
I've noticed that, and I've seen that. I've seen the way people's lives turn around really quick. I've noticed that, and I get it. It really is a blessing in life.
Yeah.
Like on a very grand scale.
Like
I see it.
Like you're making, you made that joke. You're like, since I said, when you were talking about maybe me being some kind of operative Mason or something trying to get you, and look what everything happened. But what really happened is I stepped into
You stepped
life.
in. Yeah. I agree,
I stepped into that responsibility, and all of a sudden things started changing. And I had faith, and I just kind of walked the path as God just shows me the light step by step. And
I agree.
Then all of a sudden things start to happen.
I agree.
And they're not just solidified and permanent, there's peaks and valleys in life,
Sure.
And it's like you hit a peak, you hit a valley, you hit a peak, you hit a valley, but yeah.
I know this whole stuff has also made me understand the other fatherhood more as well, like the fatherhood of that, where it's sisters and nuns and fatherhood, and then it's like you are the father to these children of God.
Yeah.
So it's like it is this very important role that, again, has been infiltrated and not too many people take seriously or take it in the very wrong direction.
Yeah.
But there is something very important about being the right kind of guidance for these for these younger ones that are coming up. And the more the better.
Speaking of God, you were bringing up like the voice that you hear.
Yes.
How the voice you hear isn't you. You know what's funny about that? Me and my friend were having a discussion about this, and I'm like experiencing it real time. But the things that you have going on right now, like everything that you can do, they're all like mounting to something. Even when you were younger, they were all mounting to something. The little things that you could do, you didn't understand. So that's kind of similar to a baby in the womb. Like right now, there's a baby in the womb, and they go like this, and they're like, "What is this for? And what is this for? And like, what is all this?" They have no idea.
And they come out just into a bigger womb,
right? Well, they have no idea what this is, but it's like, young girl, young guy. It's like, what is this? And then all of a sudden, it's like 50 years later, they're this incredible artist, and it's like, that's what that was. That's why you have this hand. That's why you have these hands. You do this work with these hands. You know what I mean? It's like, that's why you were kicking so much, because now you're in track. Yeah. And you're like this track. You know what I mean? Like, it's weird.
I do.
But then also to the voice. Imagine this.
But that's interesting. Like, it is like this is a womb too, man. And then the voice is the voice outside the womb, right?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because when you're trying to talk to
the bigger
kid,
parent.
Yeah. When you're trying to talk into the baby, like, you have to think, as you try to speak into, your wife's stomach to the child, because you do that, you like vibrate and the kid responds, and it's wild. And and that's what that voice could be with you, because like right now I do that, and I'll say things, and I'll say affirmations, and I'll say things, and I keep doing it, and it's like the baby will know. Right. And then the baby comes out, and like right now you're hearing these things, and I've heard like, I can even talk about my own self hearing a voice of like, stop smoking, like stop smoking weed, like sober up, you got to get sober. And I'm like, why do I got to get sober? And now now I'm in this position where I need to be sober in order to do everything that I'm doing. Like I have to be sharp, and it's like, that's why it was telling me this whole time to get sober, and that's why it was telling me to do certain things. And it's like that voice it's not arbitrary, it's pushing you towards what you're supposed to do. Every like thinking about like stand up, and even thinking about this relationship that we have, every single day I think about stand up comedy. Every single day I think about it. All the time I think about it. And then all of a sudden, like meeting you, talking to you all the time, then seeing the show, then understanding more. That all of these, it's weird what happens, but the whole time and then when I say I think about it all the time, not when I was 30 or not when I was 25, like since I was like 10.
Yeah, I know.
I was like, oh, I should be doing, like, I should do that. That looks so fun. I should just be doing that.
I see that too. There is this, man. Yeah, it's a divine guide guiding you. It can be, because it can all, now again, and this is the cool thing about the concept of being the observer of the voice, which is really all we are. All we really are is just the observer. Because if you hear the voice, then it's like, well, who's listening to that voice?
True.
Whoever's listening, that's you.
Yeah.
So now it's like, well, who's the voice? And then you start, I start getting into those higher levels of, it's and my life always resorts to cartoons. Yeah. and so it really is that devil and the angel on your shoulder.
Yeah.
And I've even heard that with like the ringing in the ear. Certain ringing, like left ear ringing means one thing, right ear ringing means another thing. So it is this similar concept to like, it's like some of those, and you know there's that negative self-talk.
Yeah, of course.
And you have positive, affirming self-talk. So it's like within us is this scale of like, who wins? Is it the devil or the angel? Yeah. Even on the day. Yeah. Right? Like, let's say we're divinely guided, but within the day, who's going to win that battle? Are you going to let more of the negative talk get the better of your day? Yeah. Or are you going to allow more of this, the angel talk, the positive talk to seep into your brain and allow your surroundings to shift accordingly, you know, and I think we've seen it, man. And I think maybe we both listened to one side of those voices at one point or another in our lives. Yeah, and of course. 100%. One definitely guides us better than the other.
Yeah, 100%. And then as you keep going towards the good one, for me at least, the other one just kind of dies out.
Yeah, before it was always, that's what it seems like.
It was always get high and do whatever you want and do this and do that and violence and this and that and this and that. And like now all of that's dissipating and it's like wake up on time, tell her you love her, do this, do that. Like all these good things constantly come to me. But also that's like I developed a relationship with God. You know, I pray.
It took discipline.
Yeah.
You had to. That's as kung fu as it gets, man, to have that right kind of discipline.
That's so true.
Yeah.
It's wild. You want to hear something? We're talking about God. Actually, we should listen to this. This is something we should listen to. Joe List and Joe Rogan. Listen to this concept that they got going on here. Hold on, I got to mute our mics.
About people that are just talented and they're going to make it.
Of course.
And they're wearing scarves and they're from the rough side of town, but they get together and shine.
But doesn't that song get you? As somebody that pursued a dream, and I listened to that song and I'm like, this is me, baby. I took my passion and made it happen.
You made it happen.
Fucking right, man.
Do you want to live forever?
I don't want to live forever. I mean, I want to live forever, but I'd like to live in this state for a long time.
I've been thinking about this and talking about this a lot lately.
Living forever?
I think if heaven's real, and I was the devil, you know what I would do? I'd convince people that they should extend their life.
Yeah.
I'd convince people that they can live forever. I'd convince people to transplant their soul into a machine where they would be trapped for eternity. If you could just trick them.
Right.
Imagine if heaven's real. Imagine if you die one day and you're like, oh my God, it's real. It's not like a dude in the clouds and a guy with a book. It's like, what'd you do when you were in 7th grade? You lied to your mom. And he's like, it's not.
So what is it? What is heaven then?
What if it's just some other realm where you're disembodied from your physical being, but you live in a realm of pure consciousness, just pure consciousness interacting with other consciousness. It's just geometry, just patterns. And what if that's where you're supposed to be? That's great. But what if this place just gets increasingly more dystopian, and as life goes on, you signed up to live forever, but now life is suck. It's just suck. It's just everybody's eating insect burgers and all your time is monitored by the great overlord powers of the World Economic Forum, which controls the earth. You're hooked up to some grid and you have to be attached to it and labor for X amount of hours per day in order to be fed and housed.
This sounds similar to reality.
Yeah, but what if it keeps getting worse?
It might keep getting worse.
What if that's really what hell is? What if hell is the trick that you're scared to die, so you sign up to be a part of this cyborg program, and you literally lose your soul. Yeah. Your soul gets transplanted into a machine forever, and it's the devil's trick.
And it's just you looking at TikTok all day, just fucking dark web, and that's
And the problem is, I would never consider that as a possibility because there's so many loons that run around telling you the devil is crafty and the devil has plans for you. And you're like, sure he does. Okay, it's the devil, right. But what if it is the devil? And what if one of the ways the devil gets you to think that the devil's stupid is has a bunch of stupid people believe in the devil?
Now, is he a devil? Does he have horns in the tail and stuff? Like, a fiery guy? Because that's always amusing to me.
I bet he can look any way he wants. I mean, he's got the power to manipulate all of mankind. We're assuming that it's real.
Right. He's like T1000.
Yeah.
Or T2000, whatever it was.
No, much more complicated than that. It's literally like tempting you to do the wrong thing all the time. What if that's like a real thing, like a real force in the universe? And it's not just the problems with human biology and the desire to spread your DNA and tribal warfare and people stealing resources from other people so that their DNA would survive and the other ones wouldn't, which is what it's been for all of human history. All the warring and all the thievery and all the horrible shit that people have done to each other. It's all like a survival thing. It's like it's all programmed in like that.
You're freaking me out, Joe.
Yeah.
You're losing me. I'm getting nervous.
You should be. You should be a little nervous. Like what if the trap, the big ultimate trap, is downloading your consciousness into something?
Right.
Like, what if the soul actually can be contained? Like, what if there's a way to actually put it into something? Like, we think of the soul as being, you know, like if you believe in it at all, you think your soul leaves your body when you die. But what if you can suck it out of your body before you die, lock it up in a Ken doll?
I would love for someone to try to suck my soul out via the cock. But what you described as consciousness and just interact with other consciousness, that is reality, is it not?
Or what if you can make duplicates of your consciousness? What kind of a hell would that be? What if you just couldn't help it, like one of them ladies that has big giant fake butts? What if you just kept making more and more duplicates? Like, what if Donald Trump got a hold of the duplicates of your consciousness machine? And they said, Donald, do you know how well you would dominate the world if there was 1 million of you all working together in sync?
This is, I mean, literally,
it's like
the worst
tremendous.
Nightmare.
1 million? We can do 1 million. We could do 1 billion.
There's so
Someone
many
else
of
might
me.
say 1 million's enough. I would say it's not. There's 8 billion people. Why aren't there 8 billion Trumps? And so you have 8 billion of you. You just keep as much. If you have money, you just keep making duplicates of your consciousness and sending it out there.
That'd be crazy. That's all I have for this one.
We're going.
So that the whole what if it's a trick?
He's I don't watch a lot of Rogan. I know the controversy it stirs up just to say but Rogan on that particular matter is 110% right.
You think so?
Man, I've been screaming about that for years.
You think so?
The entire look, man. Think about they want. And this is why the good guys, you want to think Musk is a good guy or whatever. But you go, man, he's dying to figure out a way to tap into consciousness, to get a chip on our brain and this and that. And you go, it's the box for the soul. What the whole thing, man, we started biblically. We might as well keep going biblically. the whole thing that the devil wants is your soul.
Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Since the start of the entertainment industry, the devil's wanted your soul.
Yeah.
And what better way to get everybody's soul even? Man, I even see it on some of these terms of agreement, I think. What are we agreeing to? Right? Maybe there might just come a knock on the door going, you already clicked accept. We got to take your soul.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But
karmic law. That's
the
consent.
thing. Because look, man, what happens? The soul escapes the body.
Yeah.
The soul is eternal. The body is not.
Of course.
Yeah. So the soul goes on and goes back in the karmic loop. It goes, because even when he's saying that other dimension, so let's say that is heaven or another dimension, whatever you want to call it, to go, it's this peaceful place of pure consciousness.
Yeah.
You go, fine, but infinity in that gets boring. So inevitably, you still want to keep putting quarters back into the game.
Yeah.
To try it, here's another credit to the game, and I want to try a different loop. I want to try a different level. I want to try a different, space suit. There's all these different aspects of it to go, this is what I want. To be able to trap someone eternally into your, like, whatever this is, this version of us, so that we don't get to loop back and our soul is now bound.
Yeah.
Man, that is hell in itself.
Yeah, right.
That's and who better to organize that trick than the devil himself. But
Yeah,
really, man,
yeah.
and I think that is some of the danger to these boxes. This is once again why live and direct for me is important, because to me, I see it, man. We get to these points again. You have this system set up. You have a crowd that you respond to, that you interact with. It's different, but for the most part, for a lot of people, a lot of us, you're just this person alone in a room screaming in a box.
Yeah.
You know, and we're very fortunate to have these systems where we can communicate with one another. We're still real humans. We're still doing it. But man, what happens when everybody's in the cell and the only way out of the cell is through that, and that's the only communication you get?
Yeah.
And here it is, and everything will get sent and delivered right to you. All your food, all your essentials, everything. You never have to leave the comfort of your box, but just talking to the box.
Yeah.
You know, speak into the box, and the box will provide.
Yeah.
It's a very...
It's
And
weird.
you know what's funny to it all? It's a black box. And aren't there people that worship black boxes
Yeah.
that they
yeah.
claim are Saturn
Cubes.
or something?
Yeah, yeah. Cube of Saturn
It's
or something.
very... Yeah.
But yeah, that is something. And I often think that with Neuralink as well.
yeah, I don't
because
trust it, man. Let me
I would never do
die.
that. Yeah.
Let me die. Let me see what the good Lord had in store
Yeah.
for life, man. I don't need to.
There's actually a show like that. It's called Upload.
I watched that.
Yeah.
I
One of the one of the main characters, her dad is like, yeah, he's like, I just want to pass away. Like, it's fine. It's okay.
yeah.
He's like, you know, I'll be with your mother. Like, that's
Yeah.
how it's supposed to be. I don't need to upload into anything
Yeah.
and be around forever. And I think that's true, because that's the thing about, you want to talk about like God to devil, right? Like, the devil has his rendition of everything that God has for you.
Right.
So
Right.
if there is this eternal heaven, he's going to produce something in the material world that's going to seem that way.
Simulate
as well.
it. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's not going to be the real thing.
It can't be.
And doing that whole thing, like the ancient Egyptians have this belief, like, you
Yeah.
pass away, your soul goes up. They actually have directions. They're like, it goes
Yep.
along the Milky Way, and you learn a bunch of stuff, and you get to a certain point, and you're asked 3 questions about life, and you're supposed to answer those questions. You should have lived enough to know the answers, and if you don't, you're going back, and if you do, you get to come back in to the source, and even then, you might come back,
Yeah,
because you
'cause
might be called
it's-
to.
But there's also no reason not to, because even, again, you have to comprehend, like really grasp the idea of infinity, of eternity,
Yeah.
right? Because what is it, man? Infinity is a moment, right? Like it is this, it's the idea of time that never ends. It's infinite. But really, you can have infinity within a fraction of a second.
Yeah.
Right? So time doesn't make sense in infinity. So when you're in paradise for infinity, at some point or another, you're going to want to come back.
Yeah.
Just to switch up the pattern of it all.
Well, there's that, and also it's like, when you think about it, you can think about it like a library. You know, like maybe it's a library of people and experiences.
consciousness,
So it's like,
yeah.
I want to try this one.
Let me
I
read
like
this
one.
book about this guy.
Yeah, let's go
about
to this one.
Did you ever
Let's
get
go
into
to this
Quantum
one.
Leap?
No, is it a book?
It was a TV show back in like late 80s, early 90s.
I feel like I've seen clips of it, but I've never actually
yeah, it's
watched
probably
it.
been memed at this point. You've probably
Yeah.
seen it in meme format.
Probably.
But man, it's like it's that concept. A dude
Really?
in the future figures out a way to travel to time, but really
Really?
only his consciousness goes back. So he lives as all these different people.
Ah.
So he lives as like he lived as like a runaway slave at some point during
Wow.
slavery. He was a baseball player at this point. He was
That's
funny.
funny.
It's really funny. He was a woman at one point.
Yeah. You ever seen the concept? It's a video. I don't know if I can play. I feel like there's music, but it's the egg. It's like an egg, and it's basically talking about what you're talking about. And there's this person, and they're talking to this god, and they're like, what am I? And I think they passed away. I'm not sure how it goes, but he's like, you're everyone. He's like, you're all these people. He's like, we have you go through all these lives. He's like, but it's
Just end up figuring out you're the one.
you're God.
Yeah.
Well, you're not God. He's like,
You're from the same source.
yeah. He's like,
Yeah.
you're like me.
Yeah.
He's like, but you're just learning everything.
Yeah.
He's like, you just have to keep on going through all
Man,
these
and that's
lifetimes
why-
and keep learning.
This book, man, I swear.
It's crazy that you're pounding this book. And just this morning, I remember I was listening to this guy. I think his name. He seems like a Muslim guy that's Christian.
Yeah.
And he like has debates with people. And he had one guy read the Bible. I think it was like a Muslim guy, and he started crying. And he's like, "You know why you're crying?" He's like, "The Lord's speaking to you." He's like, "Good."
I cry often then if that's the case.
Right?
Yeah.
He's like, "The Lord's speaking to you." He's like, "That's why you're about to cry, because you can feel the words of Christ." And right away I was like, I should be reading my Bible. I should be reading that Bible more. And then all of a sudden you come with this book and you're like, I got a pocket one, because I have one. You go to church, like my church, like you go to church, the first thing they do, they're like, here you go.
I know. You know what, man? And that's the funniest thing. Again, a joke that nobody laughs at. So I try a joke, nobody laughs, man. I keep telling. I was trying to find a Bible, and I could not find one.
Really?
For the life. And then I came across that 100-year-old one, and then I passed up on like a dummy. But
man.
But before that, I was going into Targets, into bookstores, into
Target.
Everything. They just don't have it. They had Spanish versions of the Bible.
Really?
But they did in the U.S. I couldn't find a Bible, man. It was very weird.
Well,
it seemed
I mean,
like
you
Vegas
know what's
had
funny?
some for free on the side of the road. There was some side of the road Bibles in Las Vegas for free.
I was gonna say,
I was scared of those.
Don't they have them in hotels?
I didn't go to a hotel.
Well, you know why you couldn't find one, right? It's not because of where you were. It's because you just didn't go into a church. If you went into a church,
but even in a church, I was in a church in Arizona. There were no Bibles readily available. Like I'm talking readily available. I could steal a Bible.
No,
I could take a Bible from a hotel. I was going to pay money.
If you go into a church, I know for sure. You go into my church and you say,
"That's
hello,
a good church."
Hello, can I have a Bible? They'd be like, "Yeah, of course,
absolutely. Why
you can."
not?
Like, what's your name?
Yeah.
Have you been saved? They'd be like right away.
Yeah,
I got
no,
churches
that wasn't
everywhere.
no, man, that wasn't my case.
You gotta just you gotta ask, and
you shall receive. I know. And I miss.
And you know what's so funny about that? I didn't realize it'd be this kind of conversation, but what's funny about that is that I asked. I was sitting right there too. I asked for. I said I need people who around me who are into God. Like I was praying and I was just getting sober. Like it was like the first day. I was like, I need people who are like close to God. Like I need friends like that. And the funny that you're like this right now. But then the next day, my buddy Joel, he messaged me. Well, wasn't even a buddy at the time. Like I didn't even know him. He's like, I saw your story. He's like, I just figured I didn't post anything about God or anything. It's just the regular stuff I post. And he's like, I got this Christian men's group. He's like, we get together every week. He's like, would you want to join? The next day, it was so weird. Like I asked for it, and literally the next day it came. I was like, what?
Man, when you start to see how quick sometimes these requests come around,
yeah,
it's also very wow. We went really long on this, man.
Yeah, probably.
Wow, we did a full Rogan episode.
Is it? Yeah, we're 2:26. 2 hours,
wow.
26 minutes.
Yeah, sometimes when you can see how quick certain things come around that we request, good or bad, it's very life-altering. It's very psychedelic, if you will, because
it is.
You start to really see some greater power in the works, man, and you know, whichever side it's coming from, whether it's trying to tempt you or whatever, and again, once again, words in this book and the funny things that we talk about and the way we're perceived and taught to perceive things, again, to Rogan's point of like the devil's deception.
Yeah.
It's like, think about it, man. They have that whole idea of like the 7 deadly sins.
Yeah.
One of them is pride.
Yeah.
Which we dedicate an entire month to.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what I mean? So you even have good Christian, Catholic, biblical people that partake in this without any thought to what is going on. What do these words represent? And again, it's not to like judge people or anything like that, but you go, look at what we're playing with. We're playing with like, imagine Lust Month. I guess in a way that is Valentine's Day, but imagine Lust Month.
It's
you know,
more that's more love, right? Like Valentine's Day.
I guess,
like,
but again, we pervert it. We turn it into this thing that it's more than, and then it's just a get laid quick scheme.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when you're single, it is pretty much lust. It's you pick the person, you know. But when you're married, it's like, at least for me, it's a nice thing. Me and my wife are different, right? Like we write each other cards and all sorts of stuff all the time for no reason. We got some great stuff going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean when you think of that pride and
whatever it is.
And again,
envy.
It goes right back
envy,
to,
and we listen to DJ Envy all the time, and he's he's happily promoted. Hey man, look what DJ Envy has to say. Like, why are we, man? It's just the words that we're using and throwing out, and it's like, look at me, I'm man, what are we doing?
It's so true.
Greed, so all of them, man. Everything you want. It's like, this is the place where it's all glorified.
Yeah,
every single one of those 7. But it just makes the 7 make sense more.
Well, that, and also you have to think, we were just talking about this whole thing of like your soul and everything. Like, you're supposed to learn.
Soul is not for sale.
You're supposed to learn.
Yeah, I know.
You're supposed to learn. Like these lives that you go through, they're meant to learn from the parents. People even, suggest that you pick your parents.
Yeah, I get that.
There's been like little kids that are like, I chose you. Like, I saw you and I came down and blah, blah, blah. Like, weird stuff. Crazy to hear your kids say something like that. But like, from the parents that you pick, the soul family that you have, that you're around all the time, or that you're drawn to for some reason.
I know.
It's all there because you're supposed to learn. I think there's a lot of lessons.
This is the ultimate training ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so funny you say that, because that's exactly what I was saying. I was saying that to one of my clients. I was like, all of this is like a training ground for what you're meant to be.
Yeah, and I'm starting to see that too, and it's funny because sometimes you're not sure whether you're on the right path of something. You're not sure if you're doing something. Yeah. Especially when you're choosing some kind of different path, an unconventional path.
Creative.
It's very difficult to kind of find your way on a good day, right? So then there's this whole thing of like, am I doing the right thing? Because other people will tell you one thing, but nobody had the ideas and the life and the vision that you had.
Exactly.
So it's this interesting thing that I'm beginning to comprehend and grasp of so these thoughts and these ideas and these passions and these hopes and goals are there because they're intended for me, because
and if you don't do them, they die with you.
And we see that far too often with far too many people, and it's heartbreartbreaking.
Yeah, it is.
It really
when you
is.
Think about it. That's why I do stuff like this. I remember the main driver of this, like all this stuff that I do. I remember my brother. He was like, I don't really. He didn't like what he was doing, but I really looked up to him. I still do. He's like a father figure. He's like 12 years older than me, and he was like, he's like, I don't like. He's like, I wish I could do what you were doing. I was working like in a factory, like forklift stuff, and I'm like, what are you talking about? He's like an executive, like marketing, and he was just like, I don't like it. And then we were talking. He's like, whatever you do, he's like, just make sure you're happy, whatever it is. And I was like, like that blew me away, and that's been like a driving force. And luckily, grace of God, I found somebody who felt the exact same way. She was like, whatever you do, just make sure you're happy. Yeah. All the time. It was like, look, I'm in a spare room here. And she's like, yeah, no problem. She like, and up until, I don't know, since I got in the film industry, which is only a few years ago, I mean, she was the main person making money. You know what I mean? Like, but every single time she's like, just do what makes you happy. I'm like, I want to do stand up. Like, just do it. Yeah, do it. You do this, do that. Like, do the things that make you happy. And it's paying off for her now. Like, I'll be able to take care of her. But man,
it's peaks and valleys.
It's hard to find that and to actually pursue that. because there's so many people, like you
and
just
to
said,
keep up on it, man. I noticed that too, especially, you know,
keep doing it
on the you notice it very easily on the lows, the valleys. The peaks are easy, everyth's good, everything's golden. That's the fun, you know, no problem.
It's great, yeah.
But those valleys of like, man, and again, I guess the Rogan thing, man, to the devil's trickery is the world really wants you to give up. They want you to stop. They want you to not. You know, they want you to throw your hands up and go, you know what, you win. Yeah. I'll just do the thing that I don't want to do. I'll go into misery because that's the thing. And it's funny when it's like, when you're at a point where you're like, I'm incapable of giving up. Yeah. That's where it gets kind of like tricky. Well, we've talked about it. Yeah. About the giving up and your dreams and how they test you. Yeah, yeah. I remember I was like somewhere. I was like deep in a city when I was saying that to you. And I remember it was shitty out and I was getting out to go into some building and I was bringing somebody like African food or something. It's funny, I can remember these things through the food I was delivering. And I was like, yeah, your dreams are going to test you. That's exactly what they do. They want to know. The world wants you to give up, and that's really true. And then your dreams are also going to test you and be like, how much do you want to do this? Like, I'm going to put you through the ringer. Like, and but then see what happens. And again, and what gets interesting too, that going full circle of like, man, denouncing any higher power and then reaching a point where part of that test is like, how much of your faith will you put in this power to know that it's kind of got you? Yeah. You know, whatever you want to call it. It is looking out for you. It is looking after you. Yeah. It's a very hard thing to comprehend when you're being brought down into these lows and you're at a low state, a low vibrational place. Yeah, man. But man, we're good. Yeah. We're good, you know, but it's such a hard thing to convince yourself of, because you know what, one of my friends, he was a client and he's actually a really good friend now, my buddy. He's like you got to remember these things like anchor points. Like that's what helps you have that resolve, is when you can remember the anchor points. Like I asked for friends that were close to God, and then I got it the next day. It's like you have to remember that as an anchor point. You know, you had that whole goal, and you like my YouTube. What are you remembering? The fact that you asked for it and you received it? Yeah. Or the fact that I asked for it, I received it. The fact that when I started praying, my first journey of like praying every day, I kept asking for clarity. I kept trying to figure out what the path was. I didn't understand why I wasn't being given clarity. And then literally now, you know, I say 8 months later, or no, like 11 months later, the path is very clear. So it's like, I know now I do not have to worry about the path. I work every single day. You have to work hard every single day because that's part of it. But I know that the path is already there. It's already set for me. You have to know, especially when you're talking about like God and all that stuff, you have to know that the path is already there for you. It's already been set. Yeah. It's in you. We're lucky. You have to work. We're lucky we're not the first ones. And that's Jesus. We're lucky him too. Yeah. Yeah. But you have to remember that the path is already set. Yeah. And what you want, he wants for you even more. But likewise too, I think what we want isn't always in our best interest, which is what interesting. Well, I mean, the things that you're working towards, like because at the core, there's a purpose for us. There's a reason that we're here. There's a reason we came here, at the core of the things that you want, there's a core to what you want. Yeah. Right? Like when somebody wants money, they don't actually want paper. They don't want paper in their hands. No, they just want the freedom it provides. They want the freedom because there's a thing that they've always wanted to do, and they really want that. You know, for me, it's like I want to be a very present husband and father. Like I want to be able to be there for my kids, be there for my wife, be a provider. That's what I want at the core of things. You know, and then all this other stuff, my clothing company and the channel and real estate and all this stuff that's going on, that's just the means
to that, to being that. And I keep that in mind. And that, what I've always wanted, that is something that he's always wanted for me. And when I was, too busy doing drugs and wrapped up in a legal lifestyle and everything, he wanted that for me even still.
Yeah,
it's like you
because
gotta remember that as you're going. It's really hard and something I struggle with, and it's a known thing that people struggle with, like in Christian and probably every faith.
Yeah,
is the how. Like, we as people always want to know the how.
Yeah,
we want to know how it's going to happen. So
we
can just go there quick.
It's scary to release everything and just be at the mercy of whatever.
Yeah,
yeah, I know.
And that you're just going to be like, okay, I'm going to have faith. That my another anchor point I had. I fought so hard to get this job in HR to the point where I was lying on my resume, all sorts of stuff. And I got it. And I got the job, right? And I was working it. And I was like, finally, I got it. I'm going to make money. I'm going to do this, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, I was doing Uber Eats after the job. And I was realizing that rent was coming up before I was going to get paid from the job. And then figuring out what I was going to pay for the job wasn't enough to actually cover the rent like I needed to. Going back to wanting to be a present husband, father, provider, and all that stuff, right? I couldn't do that. And for some reason, again, these weird voices or whatever, God was like, you have to quit that job. And I was like, bro, I just got the job. What are you talking about? I just got it. It's been 4 weeks. I just got it. I can't quit the job. And I listened because I was already in, prayer and around these people, and we're all talking about, spirituality. We're all talking about God and how you have to, you can't have two masters. If you're giving yourself to that, that's what it is. So if that's what he's saying, you have to follow it. So I was
you got to pick a side.
Yeah, I was like, oh my God. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna quit. And I quit, and I was going back to doing Uber Eats, and I was like, why on earth would you put me back to doing this? Like, I didn't want to. Like, why am I back doing that? I was just wearing a dress shirt and a suit working at this place. I'm like, why would you bring me back to this? And then all of a sudden I realized I had so much time and I was enjoying myself listening to podcasts. And then like a month later, it was the month today. So November 10th, I was like, oh, maybe I'll just start listening to podcasts and like clipping it up, and maybe I'll make videos on that. And then like a month went by, 2 months went by. And then like I told you, by the time it was the end of January, I was already at 25,000 subscribers. And I was like, oh, okay. So I wouldn't have the time to do any of this.
Right. You had to empty the cup in order for the new.
Well, like, I was filling the cup with change. And God was like, yo, I got a whole stack of bills.
But you gotta
pour out that change. Like, those are pennies. Yeah. So I did that, and all of a sudden it's like it worked out. And it's like the clothing company. Now I'm doing what I actually want to do.
It's funny that you mentioned clothing too, because you even talk about wearing the suit, wearing the dress shirt, wearing the, and then now your sweaters, casual. Like it's.
Well, that was the one thing. It's funny because that was the one thing Dino actually commented on. Is the day I switched, I was like, why am I wearing dress shirt? I'm like, I don't want to do this. I don't want to wear this. And I just went back to like wearing what I usually wear. And I remember I was talking about being famous and how being famous isn't important, and being famous with your family and your community.
Yeah.
And like, that's what's really important. And that was like the first time I think that was when he followed me, because he's like, I feel that shit. And now I see why, because that's how he actually operates. It made a lot of sense, but it's funny. Like, none of this would be happening if I stayed with that.
I know.
None of that would be happening. So any inspiration or saying,
that's a trip too, eh?
You wouldn't have got any of that. Like,
and likewise, this information exchange probably wouldn't have happened as a result.
Exactly.
That's very profound, man.
It's crazy the way things work out.
It is pretty miraculous, to say the least.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Do we need to cover any topics to?
Nah. I just had things just loaded up in case. But that clip was one that I knew you'd vibe with.
Which one? The work? Oh, the
one.
Joe list. Yeah, that was cool, man. I like that.
Interesting.
And Rogan's an interesting person to dissect that.
Yeah, right.
He's seen a lot.
Right. For sure, seen a lot. I was in film and television for just a little while, and I saw some weird stuff.
Yeah, very weird things. Okay, what time is it, man? How long did we go?
Is it 3 o'clock? It's 5:04. Whoa.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, we gotta wrap it up.
We
I
have
guess.
lives, yeah. Okay, what do we do to wrap it up?
That's it. We wrap it up. Thanks, guys. First interview, first of many.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, say your stuff. At what? At what is it? At Keven Soldo.
No, I'll do Kev Soldo, KEVSOLDO on Instagram. I almost never post. I post stories occasionally. I would love to use Instagram less and less. I don't mind if you have a hard time finding me. That's okay. I just want to be in the places that I'm supposed to be when I'm supposed to be there. And do the thing that I'm supposed to do.
That's a plug.
I really don't. I mean, if you want to come see me, great. If you don't, that's okay too. I'm still gonna do it. So, you know what I mean? Nothing will stop me. So whatever, you know, I don't want to tell them to do the regular thing. Watch this guy's videos. Do the thing to click on like and subscribe for this guy. Yeah, man, again, thank you for all of this stuff. And yeah, if you ever come across my name,
click it
or whatever, or if you have a podcast, if you have other podcast people, you could pass my name around.
All right,
I'll do a podcast tour.
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Yeah, thank you, man.
All right, man, we're out, guys. Take it easy, like and subscribe.